The Drunken Peasants podcast is satirical in nature, and while we do occasionally delve into serious issues and discussions, our primary purpose is to entertain and amuse. In other words, don't take this shit too seriously. Hey guys, if you enjoy the Drunken Peasants podcast, be sure to go to audibletrial.com/Drunken Peasants to get your free audio book. They have books like The God Delusion or Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. Also, 150,000 other titles to choose from. So be sure to check that out. It supports the show and you get a free audiobook in the process. So what the fuck do you have to lose? Tacos.
Coming to you live from the frigid armpit of America, this is the Drunken Peasants podcast with Ben and TJ, bringing you opinions of the news from an altered perspective.
Fuck it! Say, man, you got a joint? No, not on me, man.
I don't have facts to back this up.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
What the fuck you talking about, atheist? It's okay.
You're nothing, TJ. You're garbage.
I just want to be light.
You're garbage.
And now, here are your hosts,
Ben and TJ.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Welcome to the Drunken Peasants podcast, where we DP the fuck out of the news.
Ben,
Yes.
your side of the couch is like soggy over here. My side, did you like jizz on this couch?
No.
On the couch. Did you piss your pants on this couch?
No, I think
I'm sitting in something wet, Ben.
I think my dog might have
It
been
smells
there.
like bodily fluid.
Yeah, I think my dog pissed all over you.
By your dog, you mean your penis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck you, TJ.
So we have a guest.
Yes.
We have a guest. Adam Kokesh. I'm sorry, it's Kokesh.
It's okay, I'm the one that peed on your couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, marking your territory. That's okay.
Yeah.
I see you have freedom back there.
Freedom. I do.
Freedom!
Thank you.
Do you like Braveheart?
Oh, well, I did. Until I learned the truth about Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, the whole. I mean, the rabid Christianity. Now I cannot look at his face without seeing so much other disgusting imagery.
That's true. You know, you look at him and you smell the crazy now.
Mel Gibson crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm scared.
It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing with Tom Cruise. You know, there's certain people.
You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
You can't. It's hard to escape, like, you know, the that, like, whatever, I don't know, that typecast sort of image. Like once you get thought of as being like the crazy Scientologist guy or something.
It's kind of like the Hollywood echo chamber. They kind of just surround themselves with people that just agree with them, so they think their crazy shit actually makes sense. Like no one's ever actually criticizing them, and then when they do get criticized, they're like, "Oh, why are you saying this?"
So what's on your mind today, Adam?
Well, TJ, I know we want to DP the news and all, and I'm all up for that. Although I guess technically it would be like TP. I mean, does this make? Do we get? Is this like a triple penetration thing that we got tonight? I mean,
Yes.
Like if I really jump in and participate, and do my fair share and you know carry my load, I'm more than happy to do that. But you know, there is something that is kind of like a continuation that's been bugging me a little bit from our last conversation, which was a little bit more of a throwdown.
Now,
and I don't
but
really
bear in mind, I do not remember that at all.
No worries.
So.
No, yeah, I wouldn't require that for anything I'm about to say.
Yeah,
that's
good. That's
ignorance
good.
In your audience at all times. You know that's the way to go. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
no, but there was something you said about just now. Even you know. You smell the crazy, like, and once someone is branded as so blatantly unscientific minded, you know, I've been an atheist, you know, deliberately, conscientiously, as opposed to by accident, since I was like a young teenager, I guess, and I didn't, I've been looking for a better word for it. I think science-minded, is kind of, it gets more to the heart of it than the conclusion. Atheism is just one conclusion of rational thinking, right?
Right. I mean, well, you could identify as like a skeptic too. I mean, there's like different parameters. You could just say like, I'm a rationalist, or I'm a humanist, or I'm a skeptic. I mean, there's lots of different little labels you could slap on yourself. I try to avoid it too much. I mean, I think for me, the reason I like atheist as a term is because it doesn't come with some sort of like dogma attached to it already. It's just, here's your position. It's only defined by your position on one specific issue.
Well, exactly. And see, to me, that's part of the problem with it. Is like once you realize that, once you slay all the gods, you're like, all right, well, why do I need to be defined by what I'm not? And I think there's something I'm looking for that's like more inclusive, not inclusive in some bullshit PC sense, but like inclusive for me in terms of the way I engage with the world, and that like a label I'd want to put on me. And so, rationalist, all that. And a lot of, there was one point that we didn't really get to, which was that, we as atheists often talk to religious people and say, hey, you're already an atheist about hundreds of gods. You just have to get rid of that last one, crazy one that you think is the legitimate one, right? I mean, you've heard that.
Right.
Kind of
Sure. I've heard the line.
Old
We've all heard
chestnut of atheism.
Yeah.
And so
one of the classics.
Yeah, exactly. So for me as a libertarian, or someone who believes in freedom, to me, government is that last god.
Right.
And when you come to that, I wish, I don't know where you are in your thinking now since our last conversation, because that was a couple years ago. But, and I know you've always been a skeptic of government, but I think if you really fully, thoroughly apply your skepticism, your science-mindedness to the issues of government, I think you come out a lot more anarchist.
I feel like on some level, I mean, well, let's talk about the differences between God and government for a second. I mean, we know that governments actually exist. That's one thing. I mean,
yeah, good point.
I mean, if a God was demonstrated to exist, I would say, oh well, let's see what this God has to say and what sort of.
I could differ with that, man, because government is just a construct, just like God is. Right?
Sure, it's a construct, but it's a construct. It's a construct of an organization or an action. It'd be like saying, this company's infrastructure doesn't really exist because it's just a concept. Well, it's a concept, but it's also in practice.
Well, God's infrastructure is the church, TJ.
Right, exactly, and that's why it's important to be an atheist, because we're combating the infrastructure of the church.
Right, and so the concept of government is something that society, everybody buys into to a certain degree, or at least everybody who's not a libertarian, buys into a certain degree, and its manifestation is the bureaucracy of government. Is not, it's not a thing you can point to and say that's government. It's, all of these people calling themselves government.
Right, but I would say that, I mean, I think we could probably agree on all of the faults of the government, or at least many of the faults of our current government or any government around the world, but I think that I view it more as a qualitative difference, whereas you're viewing it as a quantitative difference, and you say, oh, well, if we just subtract government, then all of these problems will be fixed. But I think that would just create a slew of new problems that are actually a lot more difficult to deal with, especially if you get rid of that centralized infrastructure that actually provides a framework for our society to function.
Well, okay, I agree. I'll agree with the first part of that you do have consequences when you take away the system of violence that people are dependent on. And one of the things that I've done.
Well, I mean, there's no way to create a world without violence.
Right, but at least we can eliminate the institutionalized, organized form that is known as government. And this is the thing: is I would challenge you to really define government.
Are you sure that's a good idea to do, though? I mean, because it seems to me that if we have a government that uses violence to control people in certain situations, but it rarely uses that violence, say like a country like, I don't know, Norway or Sweden, then wouldn't that be preferable to the chaos of true anarchy, which you see in countries like Somalia or the destabilized regions of Iraq and Syria?
Well, again, it's about defining the terms here, because you say if you have a government that uses force occasionally, force is the underpinning of government. To govern literally means to control by force.
Sure.
So, like, you could say, hey,
but I mean, don't we both agree that there have to be rules? I mean, I'm not a fan of rules, and I'm sure that you're not either. But I mean, I think we both agree that they're necessary to actually. But you have to have someone that can enforce the rules, and that's all a government is.
Well, actually, the government is an institution that is premised on its ability to break the rules, and the rules are morality. The rules are ethics. So you can say, like, hey, we need institutions that do these things. Like, we need institutions for public safety. We need institutions for roads. You know, those are big collaborative efforts. Yes, absolutely. But can we substitute non-violent ones for violent ones? And that would be making government obsolete.
Well, most
so you can say
most people are not.
So hold on, let me try to bridge the gap here.
Okay, sure.
You say we need these institutions, and I say yes, and you say they'd be better if they were non-violent, and I say, well, at the point that they become truly non-violent, and their only coercion is based on enforcement of natural rights, then they cease to be governed. And if you see the definition of government clearly as it is now, which is that which controls by force, then on the other side of that, what you would have, and maybe what you're describing as your near perfect society, would be pretty close to that, because most of the institutions that you're talking about would then fail to meet the definition of government.
Well, I don't think so, because I do believe that sometimes coercion and force are necessary, because I don't think that you can just have everyone get along if the rules are always kind of this optional thing and there's no real body that's actually going to make you suffer in real-life consequences if you break the rules.
But you think government doesn't function as the rules being sort of an arbitrary thing?
Well, sure. I mean, well, sometimes they do, but like I said, that's a qualitative difference, not a quantitative one.
Well, it's qualitative in the sense that it's what is the underpinning of the system. And like I would say, yeah, we do need, as long as people are as violent as they are today in interpersonal exchanges, and we're living in the most peaceful times in human history, which is a statistically demonstrated fact now, that we are progressing in this direction anyway. That
With
you can
more centralized governments across the world, I would point out.
Well, there's also a move now for decentralization. I would say we've hit the high point of that. We've got separatist movements. Even throughout the United States, throughout Europe, some places
that's always been the case.
All right,
the level,
enough,
I would say
that's kind of a subjective analysis.
Sure. Okay. So we'll move on from that point.
All right.
What?
Well, I think if you get a little further into it, you'll see that like the difference between someone who really approaches government, and I believe that you do in a really rational, science-minded way that I admire. I think it's fucking awesome. I mean, I enjoy your rants. Because most of the time you do come at it from the same sort of analytical perspective as I do. So, I think that's, you just go a little further with it, you'll see that there's a lot more common ground and that there's a clear direction for how we can start pushing society.
Well, I would say that on a very emotional level, I've always been anti-authoritarian. So, I mean, I would say that probably I'm an emotional anarchist, but there's just I don't know I just can't bring myself to take it as a more centralized structure that actually provides a framework. I mean, I think that every government is flawed. I don't think you can even create an organization as large as a government without it being deeply flawed. But I think it's better than the alternative of just saying, we'll leave people to their own devices and they'll self-organize in a way that's actually useful.
Could it be that the fundamental flaw here is that that governments are by definition, by taxation, that they're able to steal what they take for their income, that sort of disconnects them from accountability, and that if you were to take away that particularly violent mechanism, then you could have perfect accountability of whatever central institutions that society deems necessary for these functions?
I mean, that's possible, but we don't really... I mean, I'm obviously not going to be an expert in tax reform, and I don't really know how technology will. Well, I would say you're always going to have if you're going to have any form of government, it's going to have a way to make revenue so that it can actually.
Yeah, it used to be tariffs. That's what they did before income tax. It was tariffs.
Right. So I mean, we could look at maybe the government getting its money some other way, but unless someone has a proposal, I don't see what the use in talking about it is.
Well, I have a proposal.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, it's actually a process of localization, of taking governments apart from the top down, restoring the authority locally until all of the legitimate functions that government has taken on can be replaced by nonviolent solutions. I mean, one at a time. Can't communities come up with nonviolent solutions that are superior to the violent ones?
But you're still going to have something that can the communities themselves are still going to have to be organized into some larger structure. You can't just have every little local community is its own state. I mean, it doesn't really work because they're going to have disparate values. You know, you can't really have a uniform. I mean, sure, it's the case, but there's still a centralized government that actually decides on policy for the entire country.
Wouldn't it be better if policy were tailored to individual communities?
Well, not really, because then as you travel across the United States, the laws are gonna change based on, you know, what county you're in. I mean,
so can we travel internationally today?
Yeah, I mean, sure we can, but
I mean, if anything,
we're talking about
a big impediment to that.
We're talking about travel within our own country, and sure. I mean, you know, to some extent, you want governments to impede travel. I mean, you don't want people from certain regions actually just like I wouldn't want people from Iran or Saudi Arabia to just be able to spill into America at will.
Well, I have some bad news for you. They kind of can. They have been. I mean, you know how easy it is to get across the southern border. You know how easy it is to get into Mexico.
Well, a moment ago, you were talking about how difficult it was. So.
Well, no, I mean, it's I'm thinking like the TSA is a big impediment. But if you're worried about like criminals being able to cross the borders, like for illegitimate purposes, those who have that incentive are already able to do it.
Sure, I agree with that. But I think it's good to have at least some measures in their way.
Okay, well, let me ask you to think of a legitimate function of government. And then assume a couple rules in this game that one, you can't steal for taxation in order to solve this problem. You know, you can only bring people together through nonviolence. How do you solve the problem? Is there any real problem that you can imagine that you can articulate that way that you can't think of an answer?
I mean, if we go back to the roads thing you were talking about earlier, I mean, like our interstate highway system, under your proposed idea, you would have to get just people across hundreds or thousands of miles of where this highway is supposed to be built to agree that this is where it's going to be built, this is the land that's going to be allocated for it, and if even one person along the route says, oh no, we don't want that here in this county, then you can't build.
What's more complicated, the roads or the internet?
Well, I don't know, that's debatable.
Well, you see how people were able to come together and come up with common standards and codes and things like that for the internet, and infrastructure was able to interface. You do the same thing with the roads, and you don't have to tax people because people are willing to pay for it. I mean, I would pay, as just out of sense of obligation, out of charity, I would pay for my share to build roads in my community.
But I'm saying
my share to connect those roads nationally.
But when it comes to the interstate highway system, when you're talking about multi-billion-dollar projects, and you're talking about hundreds or thousands of miles of land that's in the possession of, who knows how many different parties, it's very difficult without some sort of eminent domain ability to say, here's where we're going to build this road. It would take a lot longer to actually get a road built.
So rather than be patient enough to find a peaceful solution, you'll say, it's okay to force someone off their land if we want a road here, and we're going to trust government with that process? The people that make war? Like, really?
I mean, them making war is a totally separate matter from them building a road.
No, but that you're going to turn to that institution, like the people that have demonstrated that they're really not capable of achieving peaceful solutions, especially when there's property disputes.
Last I checked, they're capable of building roads. We have
well. And you should appreciate this about people, too.
We have a huge interstate highway system in this country.
We've been stuck in this paradigm of the internal combustion engine, spinning rubber wheels down a paved road for over 100 years, or about 100 years now. And it's only because government is heavily subsidizing that. You trust government to build an infrastructure. Now you're stuck in this. I mean, the idea that we'd have flying cars by now, like we really would. But the government subsidizes this transportation paradigm. It stifles innovation.
I don't think so. I mean, there's been plenty of people in government who are trying to build high-speed rail systems, improve public transportation, and then there were other factions in the government that prevented that from happening.
Yes.
Exactly. And if you didn't have the government, those people without government would still be able to do that kind of research and innovation.
No private party has yet said, we're going to foot the bill for the high-speed rail system.
Because government has come in and subsidized it and poisoned the market. It's impossible to compete when government can steal for its money and then, in the form of taxation, and then say, put you out of business if it feels like it. It doesn't create the environment where that's possible. It creates a disconnect from what people want. And instead, I mean, really, TJ, do you think the highway system in America is like all we're capable of in this country? I mean, if you look at it, you look at what roads in other countries and in certain places in terms of what people are capable of, it's pretty pathetic, and it's dangerous. 40,000 Americans die every year on the roads here. Like that's not an endorsement to say that they're doing it well. But
we're talking about
figure out a way to do this without.
But we're talking about when the roads were first built and when that was the cutting edge of transportation. When they were actually built quite quickly.
Sure.
And they were the cutting edge. And I'm saying that you would have, if you had instituted, if there was no eminent domain, if there was no federal government to oversee a project of that magnitude, I don't think it could have been accomplished.
So, does that mean it should be accomplished then? I mean, if the only way to accomplish something is through violence, is that a sign like maybe
well,
we doing it?
If the ends justify the means.
Well, I thought you were more, consistent in your science-minded analysis of ethics.
Well, I think that, if we're going to talk about you can never use coercion or force, then, I don't think much can get accomplished. People have to be able to cohere into a useful social arrangement.
No, by definition, violence reduces our capacity to cooperate.
But I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, how many times has violence really been utilized to build a road? I mean, it's not like
it's
the
behind
government.
The entire thing, like you said.
Well,
it's an eminent domain.
It's an implied threat, perhaps at the very best.
That's enough, isn't it? I mean, when a mugger puts a gun to your head, he doesn't have to pull the trigger to get your wallet.
I think there's a lot of qualitative differences between a mugger and a centralized government.
Yeah, the mugger doesn't lie to you and say he's doing it for your own good.
Well, I think that the government does do a lot of things for the good of the people. I mean, there's different programs. You can't,
and that's their excuse to do lots of bad things.
I mean, sure, they do bad things. There's no denying that. But I'm saying the mugger doesn't, steal your money to build you a swimming pool in your backyard. He steals your money for himself. And
well, at least when he's done, he leaves you alone. He doesn't try to control you with regulation. He doesn't try to control you with the drug war.
I like regulations. I don't want a giant corporation to just be able to spill toxic waste in the Mississippi River and clap their hands together and say, well, whatever, that's someone else's problem now.
The government justice system legal system is exactly what makes that possible. If you didn't have government, then that kind of and it was because, now, if you just eliminate government, that's not the answer. You have to eliminate government as a society because you reject coercion, you reject violence, and in that case, then the pollution isn't possible. You have a system where people are held accountable for that.
Sure.
I feel the same way. And you look at government, holy crap, does it not work when it comes to dealing with pollution? In fact, it's the biggest polluter. Why? Because it doesn't have any accountability. Because it has, I should say, to be more precise, it has detachment through accountability, through taxation, and the corruption of the voting process.
I don't think the government is not the biggest polluter. The private sector are the biggest polluters. I mean...
No, okay, as the single biggest entity polluter in the United States, it is the United States federal government.
But sure, but it's the single biggest entity.
Well, all the corporations that are polluting are recognized corporations under the United States corporate structure and have special privileges that they're entitled to with that they're not in a free market.
Why would they not be in a free market?
Because in a free market, by definition of it being a free market, there's respect for property rights. So when somebody pollutes and they damage land, they damage your health, they're held accountable for that.
Well, how would you hold them accountable?
Well, the most important thing is that you have insurance, you have dispute resolution organizations, and you have
without a court system, you can't. There's no weight behind any lawsuit. If you don't have that implied threat of, hey, if you break the law, someone's gonna fuck your shit up, then you're gonna break the law. You're not gonna care.
Actually, the better threat than punishment, because it really doesn't work in the system, is ostracism, essentially. And if the society says, this is a behavior that we won't tolerate, then you do actually end up with a private court system that decides, is this someone that we shouldn't be doing business with? Is this someone that really needs to be ostracized from society? And that's
you're basically saying we should just leave this up to the judgment of the people. But this is a population that, irrationally thinks that gluten is bad for them. I mean,
hold on, TJ. Let me suggest a different way of looking at this. Right now, like you could say that we do have a free market, right? People vote. People demand through the voting process through that.
I mean, look, the free market thing is there's a false dichotomy where it's like, oh well, it's either free market or it's not. I mean, free market is a gradient.
Fair enough, but you do have the absolute ideal where you at least have no institutional incursions of violence on the free market on individuals who want to exchange value peacefully.
Sure.
So if you have a system where the market for violence is expressed as it is today through government, then you're going to be stuck in this violent system for everything else that you turn to it for. But if the market says, no, we don't demand violence, we don't support corporations that pollute, we don't support politicians that vote for violent policies, we don't support the enforcement of unjust laws, then that's the society I'm talking about, and it's not really a political process, and this is the big misunderstanding.
But like the problem with this scenario is that it's populated by this dream populace of these civic-minded, responsible individuals that I've never met in real life.
Well, that's what they said about democracy, and if you really want to make that argument, you got to go the other way and say that your ideal form of government is
and that's cool.
Look,
the jury is still out in democracy. I mean, you're a dissident of democracy at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No,
let's shift gears here. I want to step in the process. Sure, right. Okay. Let's talk about your appearance. Right? I do. Let's talk about your appearance on Dr. Drew, his show, because that was how we first mentioned the possibility of having you as a guest.
Yeah, he cut your mic and then said it was because he was running out of time.
Running out of time. We can't hear what he has to
say. Running out of time. Sorry. We can't listen to this guy. And I thought it was very ironic that he's sitting there talking about the troops are fighting for our freedom, and
he went to 9/11. He went.
And here you are. But I mean, here you are. You're a veteran, and you're trying to tell him your opinion. You're trying to use the freedom that he says that you fought for.
Cut his mic and wave
cut his mic. Shut him up.
Flag.
Don't let him talk.
The flag again.
Wrong kind of troop.
Yeah.
What was that? So I mean, I guess what was that experience like? What were you feeling like when he cut the mic there? Because you had a very interesting expression on your face, like a very like almost disappointed, I would say.
Well, I don't know if I should admit this, but I'm really an old fan of Dr. Drew's going back to the early Loveline days.
Yeah.
When I didn't know what those strange bumps were, he really helped me out. So,
how much did Adam Carolla help you out?
Probably not very much.
So I love that show. I listened to it with my mom when I was in college too. Like when I was waiting to go to college. When I just got through boot camp with the Marines and everything. And like I really look up to the dude, and you know what? I hate to use this term, like I sound like I'm repeating it, but the idea of being science-minded is something that I've been homing in on a lot for myself lately. Mm-hmm. And I what I saw in Dr. Drew was someone that I respected as that, and as he talks like within the realm of personal, emotional, sexual advice, he's great, addiction specialist, cool. But as soon as it goes to politics and he's on headline news, it's like, nope, party line, whatever the authorities say. And and that was the disappointment that I had.
Yeah, we had him on, or we played a clip of his
on Nancy Grace.
And we agreed with what he was saying there about marijuana legislation changing. But after that, it kind of seems like when he's talking about politics, he just kind of
toes a party line for sure.
Pretty much. But I guess HLN just kind of has that going on usually, I would say.
Well, it makes me wonder too about the idea of controlled opposition in media, because I thought about this with politicians. Like if you're the real money money behind the powers, the string pullers, you don't want a politician who's going to be lying to people. You want someone who believes his own bullshit. And I think like the same thing is true about how people are selected for the media. And it's just, you know, someone interviewed Dr. Drew. Hey, is he going to be a good match for headline news? Which was code for, you know, does he actually think about politics, or is he going to defer to whatever our editorial staff says? And, you know, and that's how he got put into the position. You know, and I still this is nothing personal against him. You know, I like him. I think he was a cool guy. He was nice to meet, you know, after the show. And honestly, like, about cutting my mic, I really, it kind of was that he was out of time. Like, I don't mean to make an excuse for him, but it was more that he got flustered by being hit with something that, like, so directly challenged the core of his worldview that it was just like, oh, blah, 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 I can't control the conversation, cut his mic. You know, and if he had just said, Adam, we need to let, you know, the Gunny finish, I would have been like, okay, cool. You know, I wouldn't have been like, I wasn't playing the asshole. Yeah,
I gotcha. We just wanted to know if we could have a little more insight into that. Ben, did you want to play that? Because we're kind of you guys were talking about the American Sniper Chris Kyle guy on that show. So I was thinking maybe we'd play a story that kind of had a little bit of a connection there, so we could get on that subject a little bit. This is a story about Jesse Ventura, I believe.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and play it?
Yeah, sure.
No,
I think
never.
I know this.
Jesse Ventura, the pro wrestler turned politician, is celebrating a courtroom victory this morning. But some critics say the fight over a best-selling book hurt the deceased author and his family. We'll talk with the former governor in just a moment. A Minnesota jury decided Tuesday that a fellow Navy SEAL veteran damaged Ventura's reputation. Chris Kyle was regarded as the deadliest military sniper in U.S. history. He wrote in his best-selling 2012 book that he punched out a celebrity inside a California bar back in 2006. Kyle's book, American Sniper, called the man Scruffface and said he was, quote, running his mouth about the Iraq War. Kyle said the man took a swing at him, and after that, Scruffface ended up on the floor.
Which is all bullshit as far as I understand.
I want them to. Hey, have you read American Sniper, Adam, or have you watched the movie? I haven't done either.
I watched the movie just so that I could comment on it. I really didn't want to read the book. I'm glad I didn't. And by the way, I didn't pay for the movie. I torrented it. But about this, I'm very familiar with this story. And the thing that, like, I haven't even touched on this. I started to do a video on this. And I instead decided to, like, attack the bigger narrative around Chris Kyle, but just so people know, like, this guy really is a scumbag, and maybe that's a bad personal judgment, but he has serious integrity issues, and this is just one example where he made something up. They had, and I don't like the government system of justice, but this is one place where it serves a legitimate dispute resolution function. They heard witnesses to, you know, a jury that I don't think the government had any particular interest in with one way or another, and they said, yeah, this never happened. From all the witnesses who were there that night, people who were with Jesse Ventura gave a straight story. All the people that were around Chris Kyle who were testifying in line, you know, for him, you know, had inconsistencies in their story, and it was really obvious. But that one you could be like, okay, bar fight, who cares, right? Well, there were two other, like, huge lies that Chris told that you're just like, how the hell did you think you could get away with that shit? He said that the government, that someone in the FBI asked him to sit on top of the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina and shoot at looters.
That is
insane.
Oh
my God.
30 people that way. Like,
That sounds ridiculous.
Like, how do you think you can get away with this, right? I mean, like, where are the bodies? Speaking of where are the bodies, the other big lie from him was that he killed 2 carjackers in Texas. He was driving through Texas. 2 guys tried to carjack him. He killed them, called the cops, left the bodies on the side of the road, and there's no record of this anywhere.
So I mean,
Frontier justice.
I don't really know how the military works that much, but is he actually confirmed to have been the best sniper in the Iraq War or whatever the claim
Actually,
is?
they said American military history.
American military history. Then I mean, does he have? Is that all confirmed, or could that just be his tall tales too?
I don't, you know, I've thought about this, TJ, and I don't know what, like, I'm not a sniper. You know, I was in civil affairs. I'm
Sure.
familiar with the military structure and the reporting structure and all that. But I'm not intimate with the process of how a confirmed kill is submitted. I know how combat reports go in and if, you know, how they count them like that. But combat reports can be so full of shit, you know? I mean, it's like Pat Tillman, was he killed by friendly fire? Well, not at first, not according to the first of 3 versions of those combat reports that came in, right? Jessica Lynch, remember in the invasion, the woman who was the hero of the invasion of Iraq, you know, like that story ended up being like just a total fantasy version of what really happened, like ridiculous. I mean, you watch South Park, you know, and Eric Cartman has these like alternative realities. That, to me, that's like everybody saying anything to the public from the government, you know, like, oh yeah, we're all Superman and, you know, we saved the day. And it's like, no, you're a fat turd that sits around and takes credit for other people's work.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rashomon, but some people call it the Rashomon effect, where everyone tells the story and everyone has a different version, but everyone also believes their different version.
Yep.
How do you feel about people saying that Jesse Ventura is kind of a piece of shit for suing his widow and taking money from his estate rather than him now that he's dead?
You know, I've really I thought about that a lot too, because my first reaction is like, how statist of you to ask the government to steal in a case like this. But if there were real damages, you know, when you understand like what would a free society provide in a situation like this, like if someone wrote a book that really contained this kind of lie and there were damages, then, you know, yeah, he would, in order to maintain, like, in order for Chris Kyle or his widow or whoever is in control of his estate, in order to maintain their good standing in society, they would have to pay adequate damages, and there would be a process to determine what really happened. And in terms of, if I was in Jesse's situation, I have to go, well, shit, you know, I kind of understand what he did trying to do that, because, you know, it was really more about restoring his reputation. I mean, I'm sure he loves the money, but I don't think he really, he's really hurting for it. And I think that was like a legitimate concern. So given that society doesn't yet have a peaceful way of settling those kind of disputes, I can't really blame him. You know, I have lots of other stuff I could criticize Jesse Ventura for, but in this case, you know, I hate to say taking sides, but I'm certainly not with Chris Kyle.
Yeah, we'll
I always thought they should make it a sequel to American Sniper about Lee Harvey Oswald, and then another one about the DC sniper.
American Sniper Part 2. Instead of killing random civilians in Iraq, we're killing random civilians in DC.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy when that was going on.
Yeah, that was an interesting case.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to hear from Jesse Ventura now.
Yeah, we'll play his clip.
Former Governor Ventura joins us from Minneapolis for an interview you'll see first on CBS this morning. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
So your attorney said that there are no winners here, and the question then is, why pursue this lawsuit?
Well, you pursue a lawsuit for the truth. I would have been a big-time loser had I not pursued the lawsuit, because the lawsuit, the whole story was fabricated. I was accused of treason, which in the military is the death penalty. I would think that would be enough to inspire anyone to seek the truth. And the bottom line is it never happened, and that's all we were seeking. And, you know, let's be clear on something. Taya Kyle had all her attorney fees paid by insurance. I did not. I incurred 2.5 years of insurance, or of 2.5 years of lawyer fees that I have to pay to clear my name. And she had insurance paying everything for her.
Some suggest, that Jesse, that you may have damaged your reputation by pursuing a lawsuit against the widow.
Well, if seeking the truth damages you, then we live in a pretty sorry world, don't we?
That's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, I gotta respect his guts, you know, for telling it like it is. But if I had an insight just then while he was talking about this for him, remember, he still is playing, you know, he was positioning for a while to run for president, and I think he's past that now. I interviewed him on my podcast and kind of embarrassed him, but that's on my YouTube channel, by the way. It's a fun one. But he's still trying to maintain this, you know, the government is bad, but I'm a patriot and I love my country, and you know, being anti-war for me is a patriotic thing, and I mean, I get that. So when Chris Kyle tries to, and this is like the implication of that story, you know, that Ventura was trash talking the troops. Oh my God, how dare you trash talk the troops? Well, you know, Ventura's of that same sort of mainstream mindset still, sadly.
I'm not sure I followed that. Could you maybe rephrase?
Sure. Okay. Jesse, like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I don't know where you are on this issue, but as a veteran, I've come all the way out the other end of understanding of this and know that joining the military is not serving this country. It's serving the politicians and the bankers and the war profiteers. And there's no legitimate cause for it at this point, you know, to have, you know, there's nothing noble in joining the military in America today. And Jesse is one of these people who's like, no, we need a strong national defense. And what Chris Kyle was doing was trying to portray him as someone like me almost. And, you know, to me, that's Jesse Ventura saying, no, I'm not that enlightened yet. I still believe in all this, you know, patriotic bullshit. And that's important for his public image. And so in that sense, it really was, you know, of primary concern to him in terms of his reputation. I just realized there's like this whole other layer of sensitivity for a guy like Jesse Ventura, you know, because if he were to run for president, he'd be saying,
hold on.
I'm proud to be a veteran, and I'd be running saying I'm ashamed to be a veteran.
So basically, you feel, I think what you're basically saying is that you feel offended by the fact that he was so offended by this story because basically he was being compared to someone who is like more what you would identify as, and you kind of resent the fact that he has such a negative reaction to the notion that would be him.
Right, now of course it was done in a that I would object to.
There we go.
Just being misrepresented, you know, you know, and part of me wants to say like, hey, you know, get over your shit, right? You know, quit whining about it. You're a public figure, people are going to misrepresent what you say all the time. But, you know,
isn't that the fucking truth?
In a way, the level of slander or libel, you know, crossed a certain line, and for him was probably extra sensitive.
Well, if we know one thing about America, any politician will stand up and be like, I love the troops, and then it comes time to look at any metric of how the troops have been taken care of, like, you know, I mean, look at the VA system. That's just a nightmare. That's ugh. And you hear these politicians all the time talk about this, like, oh, we love these troops so much, but when they come home from, and you know, they do all this shit and they're maimed for life, it's like, oh, we're not of any use to us now, so fuck off. That's the truth.
Yeah. And you know what though, most people like, okay, so what conclusion do you draw from that, TJ?
Me, I don't know. That was Scotty talking, so.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
A lot of people think we sound alike.
What can, like, you guys know about this, like, everybody knows about this, that the VA sucks, that the healthcare vets receive is grossly inadequate, that it's now 22 suicides a day.
If you want my opinion, I mean, my opinion is basically that the government views these people as disposable pawns and,
yes, of course,
you know, pays lip service to the idea that these are some cherished members of society, but doesn't actually feel that way.
No, there's no way.
At all.
All right, so then, like, what do you think when you see veterans who, like, refuse to acknowledge that obvious conclusion?
You know, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I don't want to put myself in a position where it's like, you know, if you don't agree with this conclusion, then, you know, there must be something wrong with you. Unless we're talking about unless we're talking about a matter of like hard scientific fucking truth or data or whatever. I don't want to put my opinion on such a high pedestal, at least not in a serious connotation. I might do it over I might say like The Dark Knight is the best movie ever, and anyone who disagrees is a fucking moron or something. But you know, I'm not gonna do it in a serious vein. But okay. So
let me rephrase that then.
Go ahead.
For the people that come home and they come home from war and they go, wow, the government's treating us like shit. I don't know why. I'm just going to, you know, see if I can do something about it. I'm not going to even try to diagnose this. I'm not going to figure out why. I'm not going to have even like a rational possibility of a hypothetical, you know, in my head. I'm just going to just accept it. And I'm going to go along with pretending that the government really does care about us. And they just sort of screw up over and over and over and over.
Well, you know, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know enough veterans to say how prevalent that attitude actually is. You would probably know better than me.
Well, it's most. That's the main. That's the mainstream media narrative. That's what I'm getting at.
But I don't know. I mean, like
this is all Americans.
People don't trust the media anymore. I mean, there's some people that do, but I see more skepticism about the mainstream media now than has probably ever existed, because there's just so much communication between individuals, and there's so many alternative media narratives floating around out there, many of which are just as bad as the mainstream narratives, by the way. But I just don't think that people put a lot of stock in that anymore. I don't think that the media actually represents the people. I mean, look, it's like we have this huge thing going on the internet, this Gamergate scandal, where gaming journalism is basically saying that gamers are dead and they mean nothing to us, whatever. And it's like, okay, this is your entire audience. You're basically saying the segment of the population that we write for are basically pieces of shit. So I mean, I think there's just a strong antagonism between people and their media. And basically, whenever I go to sites like the Huffington Post or the Drudge Report or whatever, I always see there's one narrative that's going on in the actual news stories, and then there's a wholly other narrative that's going on in the comments section, where
that's a good point. It's beautiful to see, isn't it?
People are crafting their own narratives. Well, it's sometimes beautiful to see, but sometimes the narratives that are in the comments section are just as bad or worse.
Sometimes there's a lot more nuance in the comments too, but other times you just see people just totally wholesale agreeing with whatever is being pushed on them.
Sure,
I don't know, man.
it just depends on the issue.
You guys familiar with the DARPA budget line item request to have sock puppet software?
No.
Okay, I swear I'm not making this up. There's a legitimate source to this, and I don't want to overblow the paranoia, but we know that there are 1.3 million Americans working for the government that have some kind of security clearances. Yes, I know they do lots of other stuff, but you know that the NSA employs thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, obviously they're doing something with this. They have an interest in polluting the conversation. So they actually submitted, it was like a contractor request to have a contractor make the software that would allow a single person behind a computer to operate a dozen different artificial personalities online, and they could comment swarm in order to make it look like public opinion was different than what it really was on something.
Sure.
Not surprising at all.
That doesn't surprise me. That sounds...
And we have bots that'll tell you can make thousands of dollars from home. Why not? I don't see any reason why the government wouldn't do the same thing.
Exactly.
Everyone agrees with this opinion. We control consensus. Yeah, let's go ahead and play another story.
All right. There's some series of videos that we've been going over piece by piece here. This one is entitled, "Why America's Military Must Be Strong."
It touches back on some of the stuff we already were talking about.
Yep.
From when America's armed forces entered World War I in 1917 until today, the United States military has repeatedly made the difference between civilization and barbarism. It's no exaggeration to say that a militarily strong America is the one indispensable prerequisite for a peaceful and prosperous world. The witness of history, as well as our own common sense, bears testament to the fact that when America's armed forces are powerful, focused, and feared, the globe is a better place than when she is weak, unprepared, and vacillating.
The strange... why is a British person telling me all this?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's an interesting way to deliver the message.
No one knows empire like the British.
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm not even American, and even I agree that this is awesome.
Yes. I chose this video because I knew Adam would probably disagree with...
Adam pretty much agrees with everything that's been said.
So far.
This is like straight out of Amero fantasy land. This is the opposite of reality. Pretty much everything he said, and it's really hysterical. Where did this come from?
Somewhere on YouTube.
Like, who's behind this? Like, who paid for this?
we play videos that are like this all the time.
I mean, I'm like, what? I mean, I didn't even. I'm just.
It's probably who paid for it? Probably a conservative think tank.
Oh,
somewhere.
I'm sure, almost certainly.
You know
something
what
like
this
that.
is a measure of? You got to think of like the target audience here, right? The target audience being some slice of middle America that's going to buy it. That's going to that's gonna go like, oh, okay, I better support the troops then instead of my
More
kids join
troops,
the military.
more money.
War is peace.
More money. Give
War
them more
is
money.
peace.
And you know what this is a testament to? How fucking pathetic the education system is in this country that history is not taught with any integrity.
That's true.
This guy here says otherwise.
Yeah.
Since century alone,
1917.
there have been 4 great threats made to peace, democracy, and freedom.
Only 4.
Each of them have come from enemies that hate and fear what the United States stands for, as laid down in her Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights.
Those documents we don't follow anymore, ever.
Come from differing mutations of fascism, and one from its totalitarian twin, communism. In each case, it has been the US military that has been a principal force protecting the free world from the tyranny these threats have sought to impose.
I'm pretty sure the communists were on our side against against the fascist Nazis.
Not only that,
am I remembering that wrong?
No, you would think like that basic, fundamental part of the story of World War II would not be lost on the average American. But, the guy with the British accent said so.
he said so with a very imposing British voice.
He seems convinced. The British guy seems convinced.
I love how
Let's
it's
go
like,
with that.
oh, we're fighting for the free world by stopping people from having certain ideas that we don't like. Especially communism. I mean, like, we even rooted people out in America like, oh, you know, this actor, we think he's a communist.
Yeah,
so
McCarthyism, yeah.
He can't work in the industry anymore.
I have a video for later if we do end up getting to it. It's an argument about how we just misunderstood Joe McCarthy.
I've heard that argument made before. You know, who, I've heard Ann Coulter make it. McCarthy was awesome, actually, if you really look at it.
Did she really say that?
Yes.
Wrong.
Yes.
She's a troll.
She's not a troll. She's just insane.
she's not real.
No, she is. No, she's a troll. No, like, seriously.
No, she's not a troll.
And she's teased. I shouldn't say this. She's teased libertarians by saying that she was going to run libertarians. Was like a decade or 2 ago, and said if you can just be anti-drugs.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
No sale.
No can do.
Like we're for freedom, except for like we like the drug war. No, sorry. So like she really is a troll. Like she trolls liberals. I mean, you look at her books, and you know I'm guilty of as much like divisive politics in my past. I'd like to think I've gotten past it, like this sort of just petty, childish shit. Where it's like liberals are stupid. You know, like that, you look at the titles of her books. Should we look these up right now? Like, because it's funny. I mean. Ann Coulter book titles.
I know one of them's Godless and another one's like Scandal. They all have one-word titles.
Yeah.
But there's always a subtitle.
Never trust a liberal over 3, especially Republican. Mugged. Racial demagoguery from the 70s to Obama. Guilty. Liberal victims. If Democrats had brains, they'd be Republicans. Godless. The Church of Liberalism. How to talk to a liberal if you must. I mean, it's just...
She doesn't like those liberals.
I've always thought she was a troll.
I don't think she is. I think she's just a lunatic.
But I get a lot of shit
She's
here.
a well-compensated troll.
They think that I think everyone is a troll, so...
Ben does think everyone's
there
a
is
troll.
some truth to that.
Ben even thinks you're a troll, Adam.
No, I don't.
He's like, Adam's just a troll.
Everyone's a troll. TJ's
No,
a
no,
troll.
a troll-
Adam's probably a hardcore
Yeah.
Republican conservative.
That's a hardcore troll to go and get arrested as many times as he does.
I'm
He's
such a government troll, I will crawl inside its ass and destroy it from the inside.
Yeah.
Bullshit. We all know you're collecting
well-
a paycheck from Uncle Sam.
Yep.
I
We'll
am, and I think we should all take as much money from the government as we can.
Those. The First World War sprung from Germany's bid for hegemony over Europe and was powered by a Prussian military machine that was proto-fascist in its outlooks, ambitions, and assumptions.
Ooh,
When the
proto-fascist,
discovery
that
of the
sounds
infamous Zimmermann telegram revealed that Germany wanted to extend the war even into the American heartland,
Oh,
the
shit.
Wilson administration sent hundreds of thousands of young American recruits.
Okay, we already know all this shit. And, whatever. I think we can move on to something else.
Sure. Go ahead.
Here's officer turns off dash cam during arrest.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Interesting.
This dash cam video was recorded April 10th.
Oh, St. Louis, too. Oh, man.
Calls reported
Right by
shots fired.
Ferguson.
A silver car was fleeing headed north. It has big rims on it.
Big rims.
Okay. Yeah, big rims. You know what that means, guys. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
You know
It
what they
has
say about
big
guys who
rims.
have big rims.
Yes, I do.
A St. Louis City police officer flagged a car he said was speeding east on Lafayette. The dash cam shows the suspect put on his blinker and make a U-turn. The officer activates his lights. The suspect pulls over. A passenger gets out. Police cuff him for traffic warrants. Then you can hear yelling for the driver to get out of the car. After about 4 minutes, an officer opens the door and police pull the driver out. 3 officers, then a 4th runs in and kicks towards the male driver's head. More kicking. Then
He was trying to get a cockroach on the guy's head.
Yeah. There was a bee on his back.
Yeah. I'm trying to stop it.
Officer Kelly Swinton, the 2013 winner of Officer of the Year, stands watching, then walks away towards a dash cam. Listen to what she says.
Hold up, y'all, hold up. Hold up, everybody hold up. We're red right now, so if you guys are worried about cameras, just wait.
She's so
Officer
dumb.
of the Year.
So dumb.
Officer of the Year.
She's less dumb than them because they didn't even think to turn off the fucking cameras.
Yeah, but then they have her on camera saying that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
She should have just gone and turned them off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna do this kind of shit, then you at least be smart about it.
On my way out of the car, I bumped into the camera and accidentally turned it into the off position.
Yeah, exactly.
Oops. I did it twice as well.
She was all like, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to turn off this camera."
They can't even violate our rights properly. Come on.
Hold on, everybody. Code red.
Just
We
like,
on film.
Just the normalcy of her saying this. Just wait. Like normal. Come on, guys. Wait till the camera's off. We know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
oh yeah, of course.
You know,
Like,
well,
I
don't
don't
start.
like
Don't
bad
start
cop
beating him
porn
yet.
anymore.
What's that?
I feel like I'm kind of over bad cop porn. You know.
What is
This,
bad
like,
cop porn?
Like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
like this. I mean, like it's just you're just sort of stroking off that part of your brain that goes, yeah, cops are bad, or you know whatever it is that it invokes in you, or some kind of fear. But this one, holy crap! Like this is one that really does push the envelope. This is like I stopped sharing bad cop porn. Like because a lot of my fans are like all about it, and they'll tweet shit at me or they'll email me stuff and say you got to share this. And at some point, I'm like, you know, there's nothing to be gained from watching another guy get beat up by the cops. But this one, like, genuinely takes shit to another level where you're just like, okay, so that's how it is these days.
We cover so much of it on this show because I don't know. I just think it's good. I think it's. I mean, it's fun, but I think it's also important for people to see. Because whenever any of these things happen, it's always like, oh, this is just isolated. This is just isolated. This is just isolated. And the more you just show them video after video after video, story after story after story, it becomes the line that it is just isolated incidents just becomes so flimsy and empty that I think.
Is anybody still standing on that, dude? It's 2015.
Oh yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
seriously, do people,
Oh, the bad
I know
apple.
That people still need
You
this,
still
but the
bad
people
apples
who need this
argument.
aren't watching your show.
I know, but you know, I mean, like, I don't know that though. I mean, our show's getting bigger all the time.
We got a pretty big reaction when
bigger than Jesus Christ.
When we showed the video of the homeless guy getting gunned down in Albuquerque in the foothills there, because he, you know, it showed him just get blown away by like 5 guys.
Oh yeah.
Burgers and fries.
He had like a little pocket knife or something like that, and we got a strong reaction when we showed that from a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I remember covering that, and that was another video like this where you go, wow, that kind of redefines things, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't think the onslaught of this, the mainstream media, I mean, I think they do enough of that.
I don't know, because you know, they try to offer this like pseudo fairness perspective. You know, sometimes trying to take the middle ground is not really fair to both parties. Sometimes it would be fair to just, you know, report the narrative as it actually is and not go like, well, you know, some people say that this is just a few bad apples. It's like, I think we can stop listening to those people at this point. There's obviously a systemic problem.
You've never been to journalism school.
Yeah, well, I haven't, no.
No.
You have too much integrity to begin with.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There's plenty of journalists that I do respect, but
Sure, there are.
There's tons that I do not as well.
Yeah, I would say the majority are not respectable.
And
But
it's
I mean,
usually the ones with journalism degrees, by the way.
yeah.
You want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
All right.
We've seen what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure she was punished with a paid vacation.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that.
Go to Disney World. Forget all about
Yeah.
your troubles.
All right, so this next video, State of Daniel, he's giving you 4 reasons to believe in God.
Oh, State of Denial?
Well, we'll see if you agree that these are valid reasons.
Oh, of course I will.
Oh,
why
almost certainly.
someone should believe in God.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Gonna get right on.
Of course.
Hey YouTube, what's going on?
Hey.
Is it possible to prove God exists? In a scientific sense, no it isn't. You can't
Okay.
experiment, observe, or measure God.
So
but I
in
still
a
think there are a
bullshit
lot of
sense it is. Only just
Yeah.
not scientific sense.
Not in a scientific, provable, actually real sense.
There's no real way to prove it, but we can, kinda.
But I could put together some fucking flimsy sophistry that makes it sound like maybe there's something there if you want it.
Sounds good.
reasons to believe that God's existence is probable. The reason I wanted to make this video is because if you watch atheists on YouTube, they'll bash and mock religion all day long, but they'll never once give you a reason
Not
to
all
actually
day
be
long.
an atheist. And you know what? I don't want to be like that. So instead of being negative and criticizing atheism, I want to give you 4 very distinct reasons
Yeah,
to believe
I'm not
going to
be negative like
Individually,
those
someone
stupid atheists
who mock us all day long.
Yeah, I'm not going to be negative and attack people like those dumb atheists always do. It's like, what? Huh? Who? What?
These arguments are stronger or weaker than others, but together I think they make a very good case for belief in the divine creator.
Okay.
The first reason is the argument from design. The premise is that where there is a design, there must be a creator.
I always hope when we watch one of these that it's going to be like a new reason that I've never heard before.
Dude, it's not going to
And
be.
I'm always disappointed.
It's
always
the
every
same
time.
shit recycled.
It's always the exact same fucking argument.
Look at that
every
sunset.
time.
It's so beautiful. Someone had to have made it. Oh, shut up.
Look at the complexity of blim blam blue. Holy shit, intricacy.
Trees and stars.
So if there's
Oh,
always a creator behind design, then there must be.
Does that look like a design, really? I mean, it just, I don't know.
Creator for our universe.
There's
think about
nothing.
it. If you saw
There's no natural law that says everything that's complex must have been designed.
Yeah.
There's no rule that says that anywhere.
a wooden house on the beach, you wouldn't think that the wind or waves of a hurricane put it together. You would know that someone intelligent put it together.
Because we know that already.
We could watch them build the entire house.
We know what a fucking house is. We have seen people build them.
You can observe it. Observe.
And you know the funny thing is,
saw God make the universe.
yeah, I mean, but the funny thing is, why does he have to use an example of a house? Because it is distinctive from fucking nature. That's why he doesn't say, "Oh, look at this beach. If you came across this beach, you would know it must be designed." Well, obviously not. No, because that's still a fucking debate. It shouldn't even be a debate. At this point, we should just know pretty much, no, it probably was not designed by some fucking guy floating around just creating shit with his words. Let there be a beach. Let there be a dog. Let there be a cat. Let there be a leaf. Let there be a tree.
And then he got tired and needed to take a break.
Woo!
For
I'm
one
tired
day.
of letting things be.
And then he created evolution.
You see design, you immediately know there's a designer. An atheist wouldn't believe that a painting came together by chance. So why would you think the same about such a wondrous universe? You know, there's actually this theory that if you gave 1 million monkeys 1 million typewriters, they'd eventually randomly type out the entire works of Shakespeare. Yet whenever we see Romeo and Juliet lying around, we don't think it was randomly created. It's strange that atheists would apply this same logic to the existence of everything. Even if you believe in evolution, evolution is just proof of a divine creator.
Sure.
The evolving order
Yeah.
of species.
Oh, it all makes
But
sense.
I just mocked that,
It's
and,
just
and he
proof.
really went there. Ugh.
It's proof.
Oh, wow.
Guys, evolution is just proof of a divine creator.
He's like one step above G-Man, though.
I know, you can't-
Because he'll at least entertain evolution instead of being like, you ever seen a canine become a non-canine?
Proof through prayer, guys. Proof through prayer.
All right,
I
hey
pray-
TJ, Scotty, can I sidebar here just a little bit? Because
Sure.
as someone who's like, as someone who believes in freedom, as a libertarian who's like passionate about that, like that's important to moving the world forward. I think I feel the same way in a sense about atheism. Like getting people past religious dogma is really important to moving society forward. And when I hear a guy like this, his argument is basically, I'm stupid, I couldn't figure it out, so my half-assed conclusions that are very comforting should be embraced by you too. And I go, like, you're not rational, like you know that you're dumb, like, because that's really embedded in all of this. And I don't know, maybe you've been thinking about like the humanist activist type organizations, but I have to wonder, like, isn't there some like deeper psychological block here when a guy is clinging to it with this, not just like such crazy, well, I read it in the book, therefore it must be true, but obviously this guy is missing, like, you're never going to win this guy over with rational arguments. Like, this guy needs therapy and education.
It's the echo chamber. They get into these communities where everyone disagrees with this proposition, like God is real, we just all believe this, and that's it. And every time there's a dissenting thing, they kind of just say, well, these are just atheists or whatever.
But this is the thing about humans. Like, there's so many human beings that do not... They don't base any of their beliefs on rationality. It's like, they don't care what the science says. They don't care what the evidence says. It's whatever they want to believe is what they believe.
Or they say the evidence actually coincides with what they believe, even if it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like,
look at Genesis. Genesis proves, the Big Bang or something, and therefore, the Bible is correct. And we're like, what? No, wrong.
Well, now you guys know how I feel about statists.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, I would say to you, like, it's people like this who are so irrational that make your worldview so incomprehensible to me, because you can't change the mentality of this kind of person. So to try to expect them to just self-organize into something that's actually productive and come to a rational consensus is ridiculous to me, because they can't come to a rational consensus about anything.
All right, dude, that's like one of the very few legitimate objections to libertarian philosophy, and I'm happy to address it directly and admit that is a legitimate objection. But it's an objection that is true right now, which is why I don't advocate the immediate abolition of government or the immediate overthrow. I think it needs to be a transition that involves some evolution for these people. So, like, you might say, hey, they're so far off. But I would just, give you any other historical example of the paradigm shifting, like hygiene, like before someone...
Hey, that one hasn't gotten around to me yet, so...
Yeah.
He's still behind the curve on that one.
Shit. Okay, but I think you take my point that, like, I might be saying that this hopeful evolutionary leap towards nonviolence is going to happen. I would say it's already happening and just needs to be continued, and people like me can... maybe shine a light on certain institutionalized issues. But I
would be the first person to say I would love to live in a world where people were rational and base their conclusions on evidence. I'd be the first person to sign up for that.
Sounds wonderful.
I don't know if that particular paradigm shift is possible, but that's probably a longer debate than we have time for at the moment.
I think it's happening. Read my book.
What is your book
Read
called?
It now!
Chapter 10. It's freedom. It's freedom. It's free. And it's free in every digital form. I'm like looking at my fingers on the screen here. It's free in every digital format.
Don't give shit away for free. We have things to sell.
Yeah.
Like a T-shirt.
Wait a minute.
We should put up the T-shirt, man.
Put up the T-shirt.
I'm selling T-shirts too, man.
Yeah. By the way, there is a link to Adam's YouTube channel in the video description.
Right. So go subscribe to Adam if you like what you have to hear.
And if you've enjoyed this video, hit thumbs up.
If you've not enjoyed this video, please don't even rate it.
Yeah, don't rate it.
Please leave. Go away.
But if you liked it, thumbs up. This is our shirt.
My channel. Maybe in a few decades, I'll catch up with TJ.
Smoke pan every day. Our huge selling shirt. Even though we really don't do the pan thing as much on the show.
Smoke pan.
But it's also available in hoodie now. So we got the hoodie as well for anyone who likes hoodies.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to make them illegal somewhere. So
yep.
And Ben's gonna model the shirt next time. That'll be the picture of the band going like, ooh.
We'll let the markets decide if hoodies should be banned, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Ban all hoodies. They're evil.
People who wear hoodies are fucking bad people. We all know
bad
this.
stuff have happened when people wear hoodies. So therefore, we should ban hoodies.
It brings up your criminal meter like a couple points. like you could possibly be a criminal.
I've actually done that just to see how people react, and if you wear a hoodie, people actually do kind of like look at you like, oh god, what is that guy
The
doing?
fuck's that guy up to? Is that some kind of gunman or something?
Yeah. It's true.
It's the Unabomber. He started it all.
What else do we
well,
have?
Well, if they see you're
then?
white, they don't care anymore. It's really true.
Let's see. We have. Who should we go through? We got Russell Brand's video.
Russell Brand.
Yeah, where he says that the killing in North Carolina is terrorism.
Ugh.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. Before we get to that, are you guys familiar with Russell's work at all, or his YouTube channel?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Have
a
you read his
familiar.
book, Revolution, or any of his other books?
I read one of his early, more biographical books, partially.
Right. Bookie Wook. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering, because I can't, I look at someone like that who's talking a lot of powerful truth, but, seems to lack, I don't know, a coherent direction for it. He's doing I love how on his YouTube channel he directs people to websites where they can get more engaged on issues that he's talking about. But what do you think of him overall? What do you think of his ideology or his shift from comedy to acting?
There's never been someone that I thought was actually interesting that just agreed with me on everything. I think it's always good to have someone who is thinking, but maybe thinking a little bit differently than you. Because they can throw you curveballs that you wouldn't expect, maybe places your mind wouldn't go. They'll encourage you to go. But I mean, I respect him. I think that his YouTube channel is pretty solid. He actually did a video where he was arguing for the existence of God, where he made some pretty terrible arguments.
Yeah.
That were pretty much the same. Pretty much the same theist sophistry we've seen a million other places.
Just a little bit more articulate, I would say.
And the reason we've selected this video is because TJ will more than likely disagree with it.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
I'll probably disagree with this one as well.
Yeah.
Can we watch the rest of Daniel first? You got him
Okay.
back.
Oh, sure.
I was really enjoying it actually because
Okay.
it is he is comical and it is well produced and he's got
sure.
that
Let's hear what the
Christian
other
charm.
let's hear what the other 3 reasons that God exists are. Maybe one of them will convince us.
Complex.
See if they're the same
Sounds
as
very
Russell.
much like a well-designed and very intentional plot. The second argument is known as the first cause argument. Everything needs an explanation. If you randomly saw a dog in your house, you would not think that it magically appeared there. You would know that there's an explanation behind it. Maybe your parents got a new dog, or maybe it snuck in when you weren't looking. Everything has
Santa
an
Claus.
explanation. Everything has a cause because everything is interlocked.
The dog's a
You were
transdimensional
caused by your
being.
parents.
What'd you say, Scotty?
So the dog's a transdimensional being.
Oh, yeah.
It just appeared in your house.
So I mean, this is
serve me, human.
This is basically like, oh, God was like the first cause because every fucking everything has a cause, and there had if we go back the causal chain, there had to be a first cause, and that first cause was God. And there's all these stupid assumptions,
Which is
with
flawed
that.
to begin with, but yeah.
Because God
I mean,
then would have to have a cause too, right?
right?
Yeah.
And if you're gonna say there was a first cause, why couldn't the Big Bang have just been the first cause? Like, does it really make any more? I mean, like to say the universe spontaneously generated has less assumptions than to say that there was a God that created it.
Hey, maybe
I mean,
the Big Bang is God.
Oh, I hate that shit. Or the universe is God, or love is God, or my foot is God.
Who were caused by your grandparents, who were caused by your ancestors. Everything.
Okay, but that
in
can
this
be clearly
world can be traced
demonstrated.
back
So
and
it
back
doesn't.
and back. So it makes sense that the entire universe must also have a cause. The universe has to have a first cause, or it would be impossible to exist.
These false
Think
equivalency
of yourself
comparisons
as a
are so
caboose
annoying.
on this great freight train, and your parents are the next boxcar, and your grandparents are the next boxcar. There has to be an engine at the end of the train, or else none of the boxcars move. A universe without a first
And they're going
cause
to a
is
FEMA
like a
camp.
moving train without an engine. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Now, a skeptic might ask, so who created or caused God?
Yeah.
But anyone who asks that has actually missed the point of the argument.
Oh, I missed the
Peter
point.
says, the argument doesn't use...
Hey guys, we missed the point. Sorry. We missed the point.
Oh, okay.
When he said everything has a cause, therefore there must have been a first cause, therefore it was God. If you ask what caused God, then you've missed the point. It's not a perfectly logical question or anything. You've missed the point.
The premise that
it's
everything
circular
needs
logic.
a
There's
cause.
no holes.
Rather, everything in motion needs a cause.
Oh, everything in
dependent needs a
motion.
cause.
Everything
And
dependent. Oh, right. Okay. all these meaningless distinctions. That makes it totally different.
Needs a cause, but God
also made the universe by standing still.
Why don't basically what they're saying is everything that's not God needs a cause, and that rule is just they pulled it
from the rule.
They pulled it out of their ass for the sake of convenience. It has no intellectual weight whatsoever. There's nothing behind any of those assertions.
Everything imperfect needs a cause. The third reason is the argument of miracles. I can't perform miracles, and you
the
can't
ICP
perform miracles.
Song?
In fact, miracles can't come from humans, and they can't come from nature.
The song is pretty amusing, though.
Fucking magnets.
I think that song proves there is no God.
No, that's Gathering of the Juggalos.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, that's a scary event.
Ben's been there several times.
No, I have not.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Ben.
Fuck you, TJ.
Ben
Fuck
used
you.
to be a juggalo.
No, I wasn't.
I've been there, but I was wearing a mask the whole time. Or makeup.
Dude, Ben owns stock in Fago, man.
Yes, I do.
He freaking drinks that shit religiously.
Yeah.
Fago.
So if miracles exist, then so must
Do
God.
you notice and recognize
so consider the miracle of the
miracles?
sun, where the sun casts multicolored lights and zigzagged across the sky for 10 minutes.
Oh.
An estimated 100,000 people witnessed this in Portugal.
100,000
Or
people were
consider the
staring at the
countless
sun?
miracles that are impossible or inexplicable.
Oh, they were staring at the sun, and then they saw
Biggest-
crazy shit. I would say staring at the sun causes damage to your eyes, and eventually you probably would see some crazy shit going on.
Are you guys seeing this?
Look,
Holy shit.
Look at this ridiculous thing. Biggest medical miracles. Like, no, a medical miracle would be like, you have cancer, let's pray. Oh, wow, now you don't have cancer. That's a miracle.
Also, this is when they you can tell that in this sense, miracles is being used colloquially, not
Yes.
like this is a real miracle. Like Jesus came down and like took the cancer out of the baby.
Well, it'd be funny if there was like a real miracle and everybody on Earth was just like, yeah, we don't know. We don't know. But no, sorry, they have to go to, there's this sun zigzagging in the sky and here's some kids.
Yeah, the sun, and like 100,000 people in Portugal 100 years ago looked at the sun and saw some weird shit. It's like, okay.
God's miracles.
Therefore, God is real.
Have you noticed the closer it gets to modernity, like God's miracles get less and less impressive? That's like the sun just did some crazy shit. Therefore, God.
Yeah, the sea used to part.
Yeah, he used to like destroy cities, turn people to salt. Now it's like he appears on a grilled cheese sandwich.
Wait, what's this picture you're showing? Is this a dude with like giant legs?
I think elephantitis, maybe. Yeah.
Like
It looks like-
entire full lower body elephantitis? That's a
That's
miracle.
that's what it looks like. Yeah, God's miracles are sometimes kind of shitty,
Minds in medicine and science.
Like
or
Ebola.
consider the blood of Saint Januarius, which is said to liquefy it.
Some crazy noise going on. I don't know.
TJ? I blame TJ. It's a pretty safe bet.
I don't know whose fault it is.
Okay, I think it got better.
Solidify annually. I myself have witnessed a miracle. I was in Romania one time for a mission trip, and I put 5 gospel tracts in my pocket.
Yeah.
And throughout the day, I was handing out these pamphlets to people, and it wasn't until the day was over that I realized that I had passed out over 20. I was in
Holy
Romania with the
shit!
missions team, and we had
They
actually
self-replicated magically in his pocket.
That's-
it's impossible
that's not a
that
miracle.
It's impossible that he maybe grabbed more than he thought or something. That couldn't have happened. It was exactly 5. He
No
counted.
way that he's a pathological liar.
Well,
also.
I'm
No.
it's too easy to just say he's lying. But I mean, like if he said like I handed out 1,000, but I mean when it's just 20, I mean that can be explained. There's way more rational. What makes more sense? I think I put 5 pieces of paper in my pocket, but lo, there were 20. What makes more sense? You made a mistake, or there's a fucking God?
Hey,
God.
nothing is a mistake when you have God on your side.
That's true.
It's true.
Not even the Crusades. They were okay.
the pamphlets among themselves. So there's no logical explanation other than a
Yes,
miracle.
there are.
That
There's
I was
no
able to
logical
celebrate.
explanation?
There's
The
no
evidence
possible
is there
logical
for those who have the
explanation.
heart to see it. The fourth reason is Pascal's wager. If you're
Oh, fuck.
that.
Troll.
Pascal's wager.
He's a troll now.
Pascal's fucking wager. like probably the most refuted of all the fucking theist bullshit.
Yeah, G-Man's answered prayer argument holds more water.
Pascal's fucking wager. Might as well hedge your bets and believe in God. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. By that logic, you might as well hedge your bets and be a Muslim just in case they're right. I mean, it doesn't make any... You could say that about any fucking religion or fucking unfalsifiable hypothesis. There's a dragon outside your house. You might as well buy my dragon repellent on the off chance it's true.
Also, buy my dragon insurance.
Hey, baby, I hear semen might cure cancer.
Yeah, there you go.
Better be
Anything that's even halfway feasible must be true.
So you want to move on to Russell Brand?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So it says Chapel Hill versus Copenhagen, which is terrorism.
I want to say I don't know a whole lot about the Copenhagen shooting, but hopefully you guys maybe do.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I know something about it.
The Trues.
Hello, you're watching The
Hello.
Trues. This week we've seen attacks in Europe and America on people of various religions, and for some reason, Bill O'Reilly looks the happiest I've seen him for ages.
Thanks for watching us. 3 Muslims murdered.
I think of that. He did seem kind of happy.
Yeah, there's a little too much pep in his
3 Muslims murdered.
3 Muslims murdered. Oh. Yeah.
Maybe Bill was getting blown
Raise
under
your
the desk.
eyebrows in joy, Bill. 3 Muslims murdered.
Was it a hate crime?
Good evening. Europe is on edge again tonight after yet another deadly attack.
Today on The Trues, we're looking at 2 sets of murders. One by Omar El Hussein, committed in Copenhagen, is a convenient murder because it goes along with the media narrative that Muslims are dangerous and Islam is a violent faith. So this set of murders gets a lot of coverage. And the second set of murders on Chapel Hill in America against 3 Muslims, perpetrated by a man called Craig Stephen Hicks, gets less airtime and is being covered in a completely different way because it conflicts with that narrative. Let's have a look.
Today's attack was a chilling echo of last month's deadly attack on the offices of a satirical newspaper in Paris.
So that's the creation of a narrative. 1 week Paris, next week Copenhagen.
So, do you agree with what he's saying so far, TJ? Or
no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't agree with what he's saying because I think he's the one who's basically beholden to a specific narrative and isn't actually looking at the facts of the cases. Because if you actually look at what happened in Chapel Hill, there's nothing to suggest that it was either a hate crime or terrorism. You have someone who was coincidentally an atheist who was known around the apartment complex as being someone who was hot-tempered and who got pissed off and had confrontations with his neighbors. We know that he was a fucking gun nut. He had his fucking gun posts all over his fucking Facebook. He had an ongoing dispute with his neighbors about a parking space. He went to his neighbor's house to confront him about the parking space. He ended up shooting them. They happened to be Muslim. I don't think there's anything to suggest that he killed them because they were Muslim. There's everything to suggest that he was an angry man who killed them over a parking space. That's what his wife said. That's what he said when he turned himself in. And by the way, if he's a terrorist, why would he not? Why he would just present his real motive? He would say, "I killed them because they were Muslim, because I have, I don't like Muslims."
Yeah, he would claim responsibility.
He would claim
Why
responsibility.
wouldn't he?
I mean, if it was an act of terrorism, you would claim responsibility and you would say, "I did it for this reason." But he said he did it because over a parking space dispute. His wife says he did it over a long-standing parking space dispute. The initial police investigation has said he did it over a parking dispute. There's a new federal investigation that's going on to determine if it was a hate crime. I think they're probably going to come to the same conclusion as everyone else, that this was not a hate crime. So I think Russell Brand is the one who's basically, just adhering to a specific narrative here.
I like to differ slightly. Because
Sure.
I really like what he has to say here, and I think it's very important to point out how the media presents these stories. And,
Sure.
Having been in daily news production in various formats, I get, the process and what this is reflecting. And I think that what Russell is pointing out here is very true, and it's very important that these two stories are presented in different ways by different media outlets that have different agendas. Duh, right? You might
Sure.
disagree with his exact conclusions, okay, personally, I don't really care. Like, I didn't really get into either of these cases, but since they came up and since ISIS is a big thing right now, I actually just did a video today on my YouTube channel. It's like 10 minutes where I start from sort of a similar analysis, but instead of going to like this, and I've watched the rest of this video. I actually saw it after I recorded mine, and it's a little bit simplistic. But what's deeper here, what's worth pointing out, what's really important, is that the media does present all of these individual tragedy stories completely selectively to feed their narrative and to feed the egos of their audience.
Well, look,
so, like,
look,
there are incidents like this all the time.
But the
all
problem,
over
but the
world
thing
that
is
don't make
though,
any news.
but the thing is though that I have my narrative, you have your narrative, Russell Brand has his narrative, the different media outlets have their differing narratives, and we should always be aware that people have narratives, people have agendas. I try to look past my own narrative. I try to see when something conflicts with it. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example, since you were just talking about ISIS. My narrative about ISIS has always been these are like really radical religious Muslims that are in ISIS. Mm-hmm. And recently I read a story that was talking about a guy. It was basically a guy who was a prisoner of ISIS for I think 10 months, who said that he never heard them talk about religion. They didn't even have a Quran. All of their discussions were orientated around politics and gaining more power for themselves. So I mean, I can't hear that and say, well, this guy's obviously lying. He was actually a captive, and this is his story. Now, I don't take that as an absolute gospel truth, but when that contradicts my narrative, I have to say to myself, well, maybe my narrative is faulty. And I think that people should always be conscious of different narratives, but I'm saying that in this specific instance, these two stories, I don't think that I don't think the reason they're being reported differently is because there's different narratives at work. I think they're being reported differently because there's actual substantive differences between the two stories.
So you're saying that, like, if he were presented with a better example on the Islam violent side, that there was no idea, like it really was a random killing by a Muslim in America of a few Christians, and the media reported in contrast, which we would see if that was the case, then his point and his narrative would be more relevant. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure if I would think it'd be more relevant. I mean, we can't get into like a million hypotheticals of what if this happened, what if that happened. We know the media would do this or that, because I don't really know. Right. I don't really know how things are going to unfold until they actually unfold. I can make predictions. I think that if a Muslim did kill 3 people who happen to be Christians, I think there probably are some media organizations that would immediately label it an act of Muslim terrorism. Probably Fox News would do that. But I think there's probably a bunch of other news organizations that would not jump to that
They would just say
conclusion.
it's murder. Yeah.
And there would be...
Well, so here's I did another video this week that got pulled from YouTube. We had to repost it on LiveLeak, and it's up online now because it included a clip of the Jordanian pilot getting burned.
Yeah.
And whenever I hear a story like this where someone's trying to tease out some complex narrative to make some like nuanced point, I try to just like go back to the big picture here. And as far as I'm concerned, with all of these issues and the media portrayal and ISIS and blah blah blah, what Russell is getting at and what he points at that is that very powerfully that a lot of people are appreciating now is that there's this certain animosity in the West towards Islam, towards Muslims, towards Arabs that is very much connected to the militarism and the American empire. And a lot of people go, well, there's violence on both sides, and that's true. But the perspective that I always want to bring is look at the proportions. Less than 5,000 Americans have ever been killed by terrorism in all of history, unless you count like troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. But even those numbers are less than 10,000. In Iraq, 500,000 children died as a result of the sanctions after the first Gulf War. 650,000 people have died as a result of the occupation. Like, the scale of this is so ridiculous to try to say, oh, there's violence on both sides.
Well, you have to, but I mean, the thing about that is, I mean, what you're saying, I think it gets a little bit misconstrued when we just talk about the American casualties of Islamic terrorism, because most of the casualties of Islamic terrorism are Muslims.
Islam. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Or at least
So
Arabs.
I mean, we can't. I mean, there is violence on their side, but it doesn't tend to be towards us. But that's because they don't have the capacity to come over here that we do to go over there, and they're more interested in fighting a civil war or a series of civil wars.
Then let me rephrase my core narrative here, because you're
Sure.
absolutely right. But that if you look at all of the violence in the world, the disproportionate source of pain and suffering and death is the American military intervention, not all of these relatively.
Look, I mean, I
It's
would
not to
say,
excuse 'em.
I don't think anyone here would disagree with you on that. Would anyone here disagree with you on that point?
So right. So I just try to zoom out to that, and then all this other stuff. It's always like, well, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes I think there's people who have to look at the big picture, and there's people who have to look at every individual instance, because I think there's different wisdoms and insights that can be gleaned from either. But I'm more kind of like you. I kind of like to pan back and look at a larger picture and see things from try to fit as much of the narrative in my head as I possibly can. But when it comes to the clash of value systems between the West and Islamic countries, I think that a lot of it is based on the militarism, but I think that also there's just a legitimate, very strong difference in how those two cultures express themselves. There's things that are core values of Western cultures are not core values in Islam or
Which
Islamic
do you think
culture.
is more fundamentalist? And I know this is a big generalization, but is America more fundamentalist Christian than the Middle East as a whole is fundamentalist Islam?
With the Middle East as a whole, I would say it's very hard to tell the exact numbers, because I feel like more people would probably feel pressured into identifying with Islam. I mean, as an atheist, I get a lot of messages from people who are in countries like Saudi Arabia or Iran, and they tell me I'm an atheist in this country, but I can't say it to anybody.
Yeah.
Because I'm too scared. The social repercussions of doing so would be too immense. So it's very hard to say exactly how fundamentalist these countries are. I think the fact that you can still find bar cultures and a lot of these little subcultures and stuff.
It's forced underground,
Even in Saudi Arabia, you could find places where gay men will congregate and have sex with each other. Human nature is not being subverted to such a degree that doesn't happen. But if they get caught, they'll probably be put to death.
Yeah, they'll face death. Yeah.
But it's hard to know how many people really buy into the narrative and how many people just do it out of peer pressure.
Well, then asking you to take a step back further, because I'm really curious here, because I have my temptations, and I'm just sort of thinking this through for the first time. Which society would you say is more governed by its particular flavor of religious illusion?
It's very difficult to say without being a geopolitical expert. Obviously I'm much closer to America because I'm here and I have to actually deal with the policies. But I would say that probably generally the Middle East.
Okay, because see, what I'm getting at. I'm tempted to say that having been to Iraq, just knowing the level of technological, economic development, and of course knowing that a lot of that's because they've experienced so much external fuckery over the centuries. But that there's got to be some connection with being relatively unscience-minded, industrialized, and relatively religious fundamentalists. And I think you'd be the first one to make the case that a society that's overly religious is going to be stunted in a lot of other ways. And that they're behind.
Well, once again, though, I don't know. That's maybe part of the truth, but I don't know if I would go so far as to say, well, that must be the whole truth. Because if we had a religion that said, be a skeptical person that bases things on evidence, and that was for some reason codified into a dogmatic belief structure that people believed in, it wouldn't really. It probably at some point it would probably cease to be religion. But if you think about it, science
by definition that's anti-dogma.
Right, but modern science really sprung from religious sources. It was the Catholic Church funded a lot of the earliest science.
If you look at, you can trace modern science institutions to that. But if you see science as like the human progress of understanding nature and understanding the world and applying it, then.
But like everything else, it had to evolve. Well, I mean, religion probably. I mean, I don't know if religion's held it back. I think religion was more of like a default setting that we slowly got away from. I think that. I think. I don't know if the two things are necessarily in opposition, have the exactly oppositional relationship you're talking about. I just think.
When you say when you say religious institutions, yes. When you say the concept of religion, I would say no. By definition, the embracing of religion, not religious institutions that might fund some good studies, is contrary to scientific development.
I guess what gives me some hesitancy, though, is that I know that there are atheist people who are bigots, who are,
right. Unscientific in every other sense.
Racist or homophobic or whatever else, and they're free from religion, but they still have all this other baggage. And then there are people who are religious, who are perfectly rational, skeptical people in pretty much every other area of their lives, like Ken Miller, the biologist, who is one of the major proponents of evolution, who actually testified on the behalf of evolutionary theory when it was under attack in certain I don't remember what state it was exactly, but there was the big trial. So I mean, I think that it's not as simple as we remove religion and then enlightenment just dawns upon us. I don't think it's that easy. I wish it was.
I agree. I would just say that it's the one largest pattern of irrational thought that is currently holding back humanity.
I mean, it is pretty large, and it's a source of so many others. But I mean, there's a lot of little irrational things that people do as well.
Yeah, no, and like if you're talking about behavioral things, I think that's true, and it's almost more foundational to think that like it's people do irrational things in romantic relationships and business relationships all the time. But I like to think that in the same way, just the enlightenment that we get with the technology of the internet, we're evolving past a lot of those habits too. And if you include those, it's hard to say, are those bigger than religion, or are those sort of more fundamental to our state of nature? But in terms of like an identifiable single thing, yeah, man, religion's got to be up there.
I agree.
You want to listen to more of this?
Sure, let's play a little more.
It's good. It's
The
good brain
shooting
candy.
echoing attacks on Charlie Hebdo carried out last month in France.
It's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere.
So, without knowing any of the details,
Tucker
we don't know
Carlson.
even the name.
Without knowing any of the details or facts, and basically bluffing my way through life on sheer prejudice alone.
Tonight,
in all fairness, it was on Fox News, so they do that all the time anyways.
Yeah.
Mark is calling it a terrorist attack.
The Omar el-Hussein story is really familiar. A lone Muslim man with a history of violence has committed 2 deadly shootings, and the media portrays it as terrorism. The Craig Stephen Hicks story is less familiar. It's a white atheist who has murdered 3 Muslims.
So are one or both of them, would one or both of them be considered terrorism?
I mean, I
your opinion?
don't know about Copenhagen. I mean, my understanding is that the motivation for his attack was that there was a cartoonist, or maybe multiple cartoonists there, who had drawn the Prophet Muhammad, which
it was basically a free speech gathering.
We know that's pissed off some Muslims in the past.
Well, the guy that
when the Danish cartoons were published, there was a huge backlash. Embassies were burned, demonstrations were held, and we know that Charlie Hebdo
and some of
was
the
attacked for
cartoonists have
those
been
reasons
targeted
as well.
and have been attacked numerous times.
So I would say it's an easier link to make to terrorism, not because he's Muslim, but because his motives are political.
Yeah, well, these are matters of fact. It's not disputable.
Well,
these
hold on,
people
but
have been
see,
attacked.
again, you don't know that. Like, if it's, and I don't mean to presume about this particular attack, but hypothetically, you had one guy pissed off about a parking space. It could be one guy who his sensibilities as a Muslim are offended, and he snaps and shoots someone, but he doesn't have any bigger terrorist aims. But I want to point out,
So, I mean,
in contrast to this, there was another shooting recently, and just you probably never heard of it, but I thought that this was it when I saw Russell pull up the other story. No, but Jason Hendricks was a white 16-year-old suburban Christian enthusiastic churchgoer military cadet. Apparently his parents took away his computer, so he killed them and his sister, and then shot at a cop on a high-speed chase, and then ended up getting killed by the cop. But no, that doesn't fit the narrative, because he's, fits into the perfect paradigm of what an ideal American should be as the good churchgoer and the militarist, and it doesn't fit any of the mainstream narratives for them to even admit that there might be a connection between the delusions of Christianity and killing and militarism.
Well, I guess we actually have the video you're talking about, so why don't we just skip to that?
Yeah, let's play that
Cool.
video.
Yeah, let's just play that video since he's talking about it anyway.
Yeah, and it's now irrelevant to this.
Tonight, police in Corbin have identified the teenager they believe may be responsible for shooting and killing his family. Yesterday morning, an officer in Baltimore County, Maryland, shot and killed 16-year-old Kentucky native Jason Hendricks. They say the vehicle Hendricks was driving is registered to a home on Forest Circle Drive in Corbin. That's when police in Corbin say they went to the home and found Kevin Hendricks, his wife Sarah, and their daughter shot to death inside. Today, grief counselors met with those who knew the Hendricks family. WKYT's Hillary Thornton talked to their pastor.
On Saturday, this home on Forest Circle Drive became the scene of a triple murder investigation.
They were just wonderful people.
Union College professor Dr. Sarah Hendricks, her husband Kevin, a local beekeeper known for his honey, and their 6th grade daughter Grace, all found shot and killed inside their home.
He's very connected in the community.
And he was grounded from playing video games? Is that what they're saying?
They took away his computer.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they deserved it then.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
obviously,
had it
he had
coming.
no recourse at that point.
And there's just so many people that are hurting right now. And usually when these things happen, we hear people say things like, who would have ever thought that would happen? Well, we're living that right now.
The family's pastor says once he arrived here at the scene of the triple murder investigation, he began learning from police about events that had unfolded in Baltimore, Maryland, involving the victim's teenage son. Corbin police initially arrived at the Forest Circle home for a welfare check after a Honda Pilot registered to that home was involved in a police pursuit that ended in a shootout with Baltimore County, Maryland police. The driver, who family friends tell us was 16-year-old Jason Hendricks, was fatally shot after police say...
Well, it looks like he went to military school or something like that.
Yeah.
It says cadet, and I assume that's what that means. But
It's
it
like
could
Wesley
be ROTC
Crusher.
cadet. It's like not the story that I saw wasn't really specific.
I see.
He opened fire on their officers.
This could be the furthest thing that we could ever imagine happening. So when we found out, especially, the news that came out that he opened fire on an officer, those types of details are really hard for us to deal with because it's just unimaginable for us.
Mahan says they have no idea why Jason was even in Baltimore or of any connections he had there.
That was not the Jason that we knew. That we had, there was no sign, nothing at all.
So
it sounds to me like Jason had some sort of other life going on.
And where did he get
There's
the
more to it.
firearms from? Did he get them from his parents? Or did he already have them from somewhere else?
I don't know.
I'm assuming he probably got them from his family.
I'm hearing a lot of static right now.
Yeah, I don't know why that's happening. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, well.
Is it on my line?
Perhaps.
Yeah, it may be.
It's all right. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy to say that because people think, well, you had to see something, you had to know something. We knew nothing.
In Corbin, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Well, he didn't follow the Bible. We know
The
that for
family
sure.
also had an older daughter who we're told is away at college in Georgia.
All right, so...
Not a good day for her. Hey, your entire family is dead
Yeah.
except for your brother who did it, and now he's in jail.
No, wasn't he killed?
Or, yeah, he's killed.
He's
Sorry.
killed too, yeah.
Yeah.
Not in jail. Killed.
So, did you want to take a break maybe and then come back and do Q&A, or...
Sure, we could do that.
Does that sound good, Adam? Like
Adam,
a 10-minute break or something?
Did you want to come back for Q&A, or did you want to go?
I want to stay right here. I don't need a
Sure.
fucking break.
Okay. All right. Ben wants to take a break, so I guess we're going to take a brief one. We'll probably call you back in about 10 minutes, unless you want to stay on the line.
No, we'll just call him back.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We shall return in 10 minutes.
We will be back.
Fuck you, Bill Maher. Fuck you, Bill Maher.
Fuck your mother in her fucking asshole. Go fuck yourself. That cunt is a douchebag, and I fucking hate him. He gets on his dumb fuck show and talks shit like that all the time. Fuck you! Fuck you! Oh, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck your mother!
Fuck it! Fuck it! Fuck it! Fuck it! Fucking thing!
I'm a bisexual. I want to marry a guy and a babe.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
You want to just walk away.
Fucking sucks!
All right, and we're back.
Da-da-da.
Should we get Adam back on right now?
Sure thing.
All right.
Get him, Ben.
Okay.
That was TJ's ringtone for like 4 years.
Was it?
Yep.
The final countdown?
Yeah.
How ironic that Brett Keane uses it in his videos now.
Yeah. The final countdown.
Hello, Adam.
Adam's dead.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. All right. So, we're gonna do a thing really quick where we're gonna play a video and then we're gonna have the audience vote on whether or not they think this is a troll video or not a troll video. This one's an easy one, I would say. Just go to the link in the description and vote. Over 100 people have already voted. Time travelers from the future.
Or psychics.
Yes. And right now, not a troll is winning, which I don't know how long it's going to be that way. But here we go. Yeah, so this kid is very passionate about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, look at him. So, we'll wait till the part where he actually starts talking.
I'm sure it's going to be very promising.
Seriously, what the frick, guys? I mean, seriously, I hate all you freaking Sonic haters! Sonic is not a bad franchise anymore! Alright, we have all these freaking hypocrites criticizing Sonic for the littlest of reasons! It makes me so mad! I mean, seriously, Sonic has improved over the years. Do you guys not realize that? I mean, seriously, what the frick? I mean,
Wait. I know this guy. I know this guy. He's the guy that leaves all the comments on all my videos.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen him before. I recognize him now.
Frack?
We all know him.
John Cena's the greatest wrestler of all time.
So would
He's
everyone
90% of the comments on
TJ,
YouTube.
that's who reminds me. You know the John Cena guy?
Yeah.
Him and that kid basically reminds me of him.
I found a video of that John Cena guy criticizing Anita Sarkeesian. It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I would say troll.
I'm gonna go with not
Wait,
a troll.
Not a troll. You don't think this? You're saying this kid is not genuine.
Not a troll.
You would say not a troll?
Not a troll.
Not a troll.
Really?
3-1, Ben.
Okay, whatever. We'll let the votes decide.
I believe him. I think I see genuine passion in his eyes.
I think he loves Sonic.
And he has a bunch of Sonic shit. I think he really is that passionate and really detests people who don't like Sonic like he does.
Yeah,
because Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, nor Sonic 4 Episodes 1 or 2 never happened! I mean, seriously, what the frack?
What the frack?
His
All
voice
right.
is so high-pitched.
I know. Okay, so now we're going to play some questions that were sent to us. Some of them are very random questions.
Play them.
All right, here we go.
Play them.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. So my questions are primarily geared towards TJ, but Ben and Scotty, you can answer these questions too. I don't know what your educational backgrounds are, but TJ, do you regret not graduating from high school? And if you went to college, what would you major in?
No, I don't regret not graduating high school because high school is not education. It's just an indoctrination center.
What about college? Would you like to go to college?
I would have liked to go to I would have liked to have gone to a college, but I don't know. I don't think I could choose a major because I'm too omnivorous in my intellectual taste. I don't want to be beholden to just learning one thing.
Things such as choosing.
Yeah. I don't want to choose. I don't want to be an expert in one thing. I want to know I just want to know enough through every subject that I can coast through a discussion.
So TJ basically wants to be like the 35-year-old guy that's like been going to school for like 12 years. Like
I want to know just enough about
7
everything that I
majors.
can pretend to be an expert on anything. That's what I want.
Good job, TJ.
All right.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. So my question for you today
Watership
is,
down.
have you ever seen August Underground?
No.
Nope.
Nope. Next question.
Super disappointed, Drunken Peasants.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Fuck you!
This man's on a power trip.
With my previous video, I was just trying to make a suggestion as to how to make the show better. Longtime viewer of the show, have a lot of personal interest invested in the show, just thought I was helping.
And you were
And
called
you guys
out.
responded by playing a video of me where I'm just going to say a lot of the mental issues I exhibited in that video, I have been in therapy for. I have gotten over a lot of those issues. And for you to put that on blast, expose that to the world, really demeans the show to me, really tells me that
Jump cut.
the Drunken Peasants is not the bastion of class that I thought it was, that I've known it to be for the past 5 years as a Drunken Peasant.
The past 5 years.
Yeah. The Drunken Peasants actually started in 1978. It was hosted by two guys named Mitch Craigs and Dan Stevens.
In Nebraska. It was started in Nebraska.
Started in Nebraska. And, you know, the torch has been passed several times, but Ben and I are the most popular and best
Yes.
incarnation.
Well, there you
But
go.
yeah, we have a story. We took over the show 5 years ago.
Yes. Anthony Fantano has no idea what he's talking about.
He's insane.
Yep. Don't
needs-
trust a word he
He
says.
needs more therapy.
He's just the poor man's Hunter S. Thompson. Just leave him alone.
It's a viewer. But, you know, tit for tat, guys. Tit for tat. Let me do a little exposure here
take the tit.
myself and let you guys know what you're dealing with in terms of Scotty, image, or computer image. Thank you. Enhance. Enhance more. Enhance. Enhance again 5 times. Okay, unenhance to 2 times. All right, thank you. Okay, wow. Wow. Dun, 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 as they say. So, explain that one, motherfucker. Explain that one.
Scotty,
bitch.
what do you have to say for yourself,
Yeah.
Scotty?
Terrorist.
You know,
Is he
Is he falling over?
no, I was trying to do a gag like I was trying to flee.
Oh, okay.
I guess it didn't work out.
No, it's just like you were falling out of your chair like an idiot.
I tried.
Yeah. All right.
You guys laughed anyway, so
Yeah.
Hello, Drunken Peasants. I just want to ask a couple questions. So, Ben, you said that you were a big fan of the movie Ed Wood.
All right. He's going to ask if I've actually seen Ed Wood's movies. Yes. And I like them, yet, you know, for as horrible as they were. I liked them.
What was your favorite one, if you've seen them?
Well,
no, I'm sure you haven't seen all of them.
No, I've not seen them all. I liked Glenn or Glenda.
Oh, okay.
The only one I've ever seen is Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
So-
it was pretty funny. It was enjoyably bad. That's if you're gonna be bad, you might as well be good bad.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. For your Q&A segment, I was just wondering that, well, this is a question mostly for TJ, but the path that America is technically on right now, with our social stance and our economics, and the fact that right now we're too busy worrying about Kim Kardashian's butt than actual
There's nothing wrong with Kim
fixing
Kardashian's
debt.
butt. Oh, what's your
Yeah,
problem?
just look at TJ's
What's your problem, buddy?
Google image search.
Yeah, I'm
Shit,
not,
look at TJ's Tumblr. It's just filled with asses.
Yeah, that's true.
It really is. I'm not even making that up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a good ass. Anyway, he's not done, so
I was wondering if you were thinking that America can actually recover from the downhill spiral that we have hit right now.
yeah, you just got to elect
Especially in
Adam
this day and age
Kokesh
What's
president.
happening?
There you go.
Smoke pan every day.
Adam, you can answer the question because you haven't said anything in a while.
She's like, putting you on the spot.
I think he's asking the question in the wrong venue.
Wrong
Question-
venue.
Come ask the question on my YouTube channel. We'll get it. We'll get it. No, it's Yeah, it's important that people redirect their attention, but it's sort of like it doesn't make any sense to whine about it. It's just sort of the perpetual human quest to pay attention to more important shit.
All right.
Next.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. I think most people would agree that people should have the right to end their own lives if they're in, chronic pain or they have some sort of terminal illness. But do you think that people should have the right to end their lives for any reason whatsoever, even if they were perfectly healthy? Thanks.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a difficult question because, there's such things as like mental illnesses that would make people more prone to suicide. That, the illness itself is treatable, so it's unlikely that they would actually rationally come to the conclusion that I want to kill myself, but maybe an illness convinces them otherwise. But then again, I mean, even if you make suicide illegal, how are you going to penalize people for it?
Yeah.
They're dead. If
When they made pot illegal and everybody stopped smoking pot.
Yeah, that worked for sure.
Right, it's kind of one of those things that whether it's legal or not, people are going to do it if they want to do it.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you on that.
Next one.
Hello, Drunken Peasants. What is your favorite type of burger? Mine's a chicken burger.
What's your favorite type of burger?
If it's chicken, it's not a burger, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
It's a chicken sandwich at that point.
She is a purist. She's like, no.
There's no such thing as a chicken burger, unless there's
What if it's ground up though?
No, it's still a
No.
chicken burger. It's not a chicken burger. It's just a chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm afraid that someone's gonna call me out for like all Asians with glasses look the same, but is that Daniel?
No, it's not. You're
That would
racist.
be a really good troll.
You're racist, buddy.
Everyone is racist.
Daniel didn't even have glasses. What am I thinking? He looks sort of like him.
TJ, what's your favorite burger?
My favorite burger, I don't know. I like shitty fast food burgers. I don't really like good quality burgers. I like the shit that they like process the hell out of.
Yeah, I think buffalo or bison burgers would be my favorite.
Probably like a fucking Whopper or something.
Ugh.
Double animal style from In-N-Out. I win.
Ugh. I wish I had some In-N-Out burger, but it's only on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Adam, your static is insane, dude.
Sorry, I don't know what.
You weren't having any. You weren't so staticky earlier, but now it's like
Hold on a second.
it's
the AC. Is that
intense.
better?
Oh, okay,
Is that
yeah.
better?
Turn that shit the fuck off. You're just gonna
We
have
just
to sweat.
had it on for the break because it was getting warm in here.
I see. Yeah, it's pretty hot
I'm
in here
living out
too.
of a trailer right now. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
small space.
So
I
your
sit and
trailer.
breathe with the AC off, it gets warm.
You know what that sound was? It was his fucking AC. It was
But
going,
it wasn't on before.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but it was really loud.
Just
Just
now.
now.
Sorry.
We were trying to ignore it, but it was getting pretty distracting.
All right. Next one.
So fuck you, man.
Hello, Drunken Peasants. I have two questions. The first one is, what is the shittiest customer service you ever had? Like, for example, did a waitress take her menstrual blood and spew it on and act like it was ketchup or something? And then my second question
yeah, that
is,
happened.
what's so interesting about weed? Because
Okay, hold on.
That sounds like a fantasy.
And all over my face
You
and force me to
guys
eat
ever had a
it.
waitress, throw a little mental blood on your food. So,
All the time.
She ever draw a clown face on you with her menstrual blood? Like she takes a tampon, uses it like a crayon.
Tell her to meet you in the bathroom in 15 minutes. That ever happened?
by the way,
stick
I
it-
think that was the
stick her
first line
tampons up
my
your
girlfriend
nose.
has heard of this. And she's looking at me like I'm some kind of creep.
You are. You're a very creepy guy.
Wait a minute.
I'm just so
no-
glad that someone else has the same fantasy as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So worst customer service. Scotty, you go first, because you're always dissatisfied with various things.
Well, thank you, TJ. I think it was a time me and you went to that Blockbuster, and they would not run us the videos no matter what we did, and they're like, okay, but here's our name, and we tried everything. And they're like, no, you don't rent movies here. And the woman had rented movies to us numerous times. Like, yeah, you recognize us, we rent movies here. And she's like, no, you never have, because we were arguing with her. She flat out told us you've never even been here before. So we came back, and our dad had a membership card. And we're like, oh, so we don't rent here, but we have this membership card. Whoa! Then we pull up our account. They said they're finally able to scan us into the system, and they pulled up the account. Like, how many times have we rented movies here? And they're like 50 or something. And we're like, oh, but we've never been here before. We forgot. We're morons. Sorry.
Ben, worst customer service.
I can't really think of anything.
Oh, bullshit. You just don't want to sound elitist, you fucking piece of garbage.
Ben's always complaining.
Adam, worst customer service.
I always get really good customer service.
There you go. I would say probably...
He threatens them. He's like, I'll kill you if you give me bad
I don't really
customer
have any horror stories that I could think of, but there was one time that McDonald's was out of ketchup. I told an exaggerated version of this on YouTube, but... Basically, McDonald's there was no ketchup packets, and I'm just like, you think you could maybe just like, what are you putting on the sandwiches? She's like, oh, well, we do have ketchup for the sandwiches. I'm like, can I have some of that? And she's like, I guess. It's like, okay. But that wasn't that big of a deal. She still got it for me.
That story is... Okay, you told that story. That's a bullshit. It's all bullshit. We went in there to eat, and TJ is like, okay, I have my fries. And he goes over to the ketchup machine like, there's no ketchup in that. Like, the little thing where you put the little, cardboard cup and you put ketchup in it. So he goes up to the counter and is like, well, can I have some ketchup packets? And they're like, we don't have any. And he's all like, what are you putting on the sandwiches? And this is the tone of voice. And they're like, well, yeah, we have it for the sandwiches. Like, well, could you give me some of that ketchup? And then the woman's like, And every time we went there afterwards, she would literally just look at TJ like this piece of fat, ugly piece of shit is back again.
I wanted
like she remembered him.
because I wanted ketchup for my fries.
Yes, you wanted ketchup for your fries.
That's such a crime.
And then on the way home, TJ got carjacked by these two dudes and killed them.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Of course.
Terrible.
And this guy had another question. He's like, what's the deal with weed? It's almost like a...
What's the deal with weed?
Yeah, it's like a Seinfeld question. What is the deal with
What's
weed?
the deal with weed?
People I've been around and told me about it, like, it looks like shit and smells like shit to me. Like, what makes it good?
I heard that argument so many times.
What makes you continuing to do it? Okay, that was it. Awesome.
It's
It
fun.
smells like a skunk. What's wrong with you? Stop doing that.
It's pretty good.
I will say this, people that try to push weed on other people, like you're hanging out and it's like, smoke this weed, and like if you're not, and I've been guilty of doing this too. That's really annoying. But besides that, if someone wants to smoke weed, then let them smoke weed. If they don't want to smoke weed, then don't smoke weed. It's very simple.
I say it should be mandatory. Everyone has to smoke weed. No choice.
Even infants?
Yes.
Okay. Time to toke up, little guy.
Just pump THC into their fucking hyperbolic crib.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. I believe Wednesday you featured a guy who said that the word bukake was pronounced as bukake. He was wrong, so he has no place correcting you guys.
Yeah!
And also, my question is for all of you guys. It's,
that's awesome.
What country's cuisine is the best, in your opinion, each individually? I'd like you to answer it like that.
Chinese.
I'd like... Yeah, Japanese is the one that I eat the most often, but... I've also tried Indonesian food and I liked that, but that's not something I'd eat very often.
I couldn't even give you a singular answer. But
Scotty's lying. For him, it's definitely Mexican. He eats more Mexican than.
Well, but that's what I'm here. Like when I go to other places, like in Canada, there's some really good Indian food that I really like, and then there's
I like Canadian food.
Poutine.
You like poutine?
Fuck yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yep.
Cheese curds and fries and gravy.
I like pizza, both authentic and Americanized in various ways.
I would say Italian food for TJ.
I like New York style pizza, but I also like Chicago style pizza. I like fast food pizza. I like traditional Italian style pizza.
Dude, you like fucking pizza off the
Wood
sidewalk.
fire pizza. It doesn't matter. I'll eat pizza.
Dog shit pizza. Go ahead and eat it.
I'll eat frozen pizza. It doesn't matter, really. Pizza is my favorite food in general.
That I agree. There's
I'm like
no
a Ninja
way.
Turtle.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't really think of that as Italian food.
Hey, Drunken Peasants, I wanted to ask you a question, but before I do,
I want the answers.
I've met this priest who I asked the question if I've met a friend who passed away but never knew any religion, would they still go to hell? And the priest said, yes, they would, but you would also be held responsible for them not knowing any religion. and I wanted to know how you guys felt about the entire statement.
Well, obviously, we don't even believe in God.
So the priest said if you didn't, it's your fault for not witnessing to them.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
I love this trick. It's like how to make your religion go viral. Anybody that buys into it, if they don't tell everybody else about it, they're going to hell.
It's not only your job to believe this shit, it's your job to convince everyone else to believe it too. And if you don't...
What gets me about... Maybe this is just like a bigger complaint about religion, but it's like, if you really believe this, like not just like half-assed pretend makes you feel good, but like if you really believe this and you really think that everybody that doesn't believe this is going to hell, why are you doing anything other than preventing people from going to hell? It's like if you believe that climate change, global warming is man-made and it's like the end of the world's coming if we don't stop it, like what are you doing? Like you should be doing nothing but that, otherwise it's obvious that you're kind of full of shit.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh no, let's
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we get wrestling questions a lot because we talk about wrestling. Yeah. No, we don't. We probably watch like 2 of those.
Do you guys watch wrestling?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we do.
Are you gay?
I'm bisexual. No. But they're straight, supposedly.
Yeah.
Scotty and Ben are supposedly straight.
Yeah.
So it doesn't turn you on?
No, not really.
Kind of.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Just checking.
Just checking.
I think that we... Okay.
No. Go ahead, TJ.
No, I was just going to say, I think that we enjoy... I mean, like, first of all, we all watched it as kids, so there's kind of like a nostalgia factor there. And I think also we just enjoy, like, the mythology of it and the over-the-topness of it and just, like, the sheer... like cheesiness, and it's like really like a male soap opera. It kind of reminds me of like a live action. It kind of reminds me of like a live action Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
So I would say if you can understand the appeal of Dragon Ball Z, you could probably understand the appeal of wrestling.
I can't actually.
Oh
well.
Not for everyone.
Are you gay?
Because I don't like Dragon
Do you like
Ball Z.
fish
Actually,
sticks?
I don't. I love fish sticks. In my mouth.
Are you a gay fish?
I'm not a gay fish. I'm a genius.
Wait. What's the appeal of Dragon Ball Z? I don't know.
It's
you know, there's no way to explain really, because there's nothing actually you can point to and say like this is good. It's just a lot of really shitty elements that somehow cohere into something that people enjoy on some level.
Yeah, if you deconstruct Dragon Ball Z, it's terrible in so many respects.
But I still love it.
Yeah.
I also love the Resident Evil movies, despite the fact that they're terrible. But I think I'm alone in that one, maybe.
No, I like them. I like them too.
I've never
I guess
seen
Scotty
them.
also likes them.
But a lot of horror movies are pretty cheesy and over the top.
There's a lot of guilty pleasures. Anyway.
Sure.
Yep.
Something. Do you think the person's beliefs does affect their actions subconsciously? Because if it does, then we can conclude that
Scotty's asleep.
Muslims did in the name of atheism.
No, we
Because
don't.
he thought that
That's
theists were the scum of the earth and was the magic pill for everything.
What? That was just
I'm from taking this. Take mushrooms. That's what I'm getting from this. He said magic pill, so I'm like, take mushrooms instead.
All right, our advice is take mushrooms.
All right, next video.
Solid.
Hey, Drunken Peasants. 2 questions for Ben here. I know you play guitar, so
Lame.
have you been in
Next.
bands, and what kind of guitar?
Yes. Okay.
Move
Next
on.
question.
Drunken Peasants, what happened to Mundane Matt? Why hasn't he appeared yet? You were supposed to have him on, but
he died in a fire.
Podcast that you were supposed to have him on, you can't
exploded.
broadcast. But since all that's fixed, I'm surprised that he hasn't been on yet.
He moved to Mars.
You know, it was just like he was scheduled to be on, and then after that show had to get canceled for technical reasons, we were like, okay, well, we'll invite him back on later, and you know, it's just the case of like a lot of time has passed, and we just kind of never. It was one of those things that just never really happened. But I mean, I like his videos. I'd love to have him on here at some point. So
yeah, But he moved to Mars, so
yeah,
there's no
he
possibility.
moved to Mars, and he died after he was executed for raping the Martian Queen. so he's dead. But if that situation resolves itself and he's alive again, we will have him on the show eventually.
Sounds good.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah. All right, so that was the last question. So I think
we're out of questions.
Yes, we're out of
no
questions.
more questions.
Yes.
So it's time to ask Adam questions then.
Go ahead.
Adam, why are you such a piece of shit, buddy?
Just born that way. I can't help it.
I know what you're going through. You know, I've been there.
You suffer from the same syndrome, TJ.
I do. Did you ever consider growing your hair out long, Adam? Like the rocker look?
I had shoulder length hair in middle school.
You did? You ever think about going back to that, or you don't think it would look good?
When I have kids, I'm gonna stop shaving or trimming anything. And
hold on. So you're planning on sexually reproducing? Is that what I'm gathering here?
Well, I've tried it by myself, and it's not as fun.
What do you think? What would you do if your kids are like hardcore, like totally buy into the system type conservative fucks? Would you disown them?
I'm not really worried about that.
Oh, but this is just a what if scenario, Adam. You know.
All right. I mean, at the point that they independent. I mean, I think if by some fluke they came out that way, I wouldn't have to do anything other than let them move out as soon as they were capable.
Yeah, because they probably wouldn't want to be there either.
Yeah, that's true.
No. I mean, I don't plan on sending my kids to any kind of government school, certainly, but I think unschooling, or which is sort of like a variant of homeschooling, is really important. That the natural state of a child's mind is to be learning and assimilating information. And if you just support that instead of cram them in cemetery row seating, you're gonna get kids that are a lot more educated and enlightened. And I'm really looking forward to generations in the future that are being raised this way. And I think it's like people are waking up to this. People would rather or people don't feel like they need the government to educate their kids anymore. Like you said, schools are indoctrination centers.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I said it, so of course I agree. What's your favorite fast food place? Do you eat fast food?
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good place for sure.
They don't have those around here.
Yeah, why would you live somewhere where there isn't In-N-Out?
I don't know.
That is a valid point.
The more valid point at this time is, why do we live somewhere where like the temperature has been like in the single digits for the last 3 or 4 days?
Or negative.
Yeah, I'm in Southern California now. I love it here.
Ugh. Yeah, fuck you.
Hold on. Now, you just get it like exactly the core of this dispute. People who live in climates where humans weren't intended to live, like, have a desire to be miserable. Like, you're choosing. You'd rather than like come over here, where things are nice and warm. You'd rather sit there and be, man, fuck you.
Yeah,
not
that's
me.
True. I do enjoy misery to some extent.
Yeah, you know what? That is fucking true about you,
accurate,
though.
Actually,
that is fucking
but
true
you know
about
what?
you.
You know what it is, though? If I live somewhere, I really realize this. Like, I used to think, like, I'm pretty tough because I don't hate winter as much as other people do. But really, it's just that I love so much that everyone else is miserable and cold that I'm like, it's worth it for me to be miserable and cold just so I can be like, ha, others are suffering as well. Therefore, I'm okay. Because my brother Scotty will be there and like, it's fucking freezing, god damn it. And I'll be like, heh, 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 heh.
You start bitching too, you liar.
But it makes me feel warm inside to know that you're so cold and miserable.
It takes TJ longer to feel cold. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because he's like so big that he doesn't get cold as quickly.
That's true.
Yep.
Anyway, show's over.
She's like, people talking shit about me. Oh, I'm gonna end it. Let's call it.
All right. Thank you for being on,
Thanks,
Adam.
Adam.
It was great to have you on.
Everyone go subscribe to Adam's channel.
Thanks, man. My pleasure. I appreciate it. And any chance I get to work with people who are as scientifically minded as y'all, I'll take the opportunity. And please stay in touch, man.
We enjoyed having you. We'll probably have you back again if you'll come back.
All right. Okay.
So we're about to go to the iTunes post show.
Yeah, iTunes post show. We record some extra
We record extra
audio.
before and after each show. That
Mainly-
you can only get on iTunes.
It is mainly just Ben fapping though, like
iTunes and
Man,
Podbean.
this Kevin Nash.
You can go to iTunes or Podbean. So, if you have Android and you don't have iTunes on your phone, you can just go to our Podbean page and you can either stream or download the audio clip from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also apps out there for Android where you can search the iTunes catalog.
iTunes catalog, bitch.
So, we're going to end the video portion of the show now. Good night, fucks.
Good night. Show's over.